around as well. She doesn't roam as well pre-6 as Aurelion Sol does, though. Let's just jump in here, and bans starting off the same, at least with both targeted bans here for the supports.
Yeah, remember Aurelion Sol was the very last pick in the draft. The support bans remain the same. There was also an Olaf ban for TSM at the end of the draft, and a Karma ban for CLG at the end of the draft in the first game, which was just remade.
Olaf, Karma, so we're going to see the same thing in that sense for the bans. First pick here for Hanser, as he gives him the smile off, he will pick up the Gangplank.
And that was one part of TSM's game that was going according to plan. He was soaking up damage on the top side, clearing multiple very important minion waves on the top side, which earned them very small advantages. You know, one wave means the difference between getting first blood or first brick on the turrets. And actually the champ select is going exactly the same. Maybe they do just plug in and repeat with Talia taking the place of Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, I think the biggest place you'd see a variance maybe would have been in the bottom side if the Trundle lane had been going too poorly against the Soraka Sivir, but we don't even see that here. It's the exact same first 5 picks.
Yeah, the only really bad thing that was going on in that lane was the roam from CLG early on. Smithy went for the invade, who he backed him up with a roam from mid lane as well on Aurelion Sol at the level 5, and they killed Double Lift. That caused them to lose the wave that resulted in him being down in CS also, but before that, it was extremely even.
Very close to being the same. That Nara is definitely going to get locked in. I wouldn't see Darshan going to anything else. I know definite, very fierce word to use. I think he's got it.
I know when CLG played SKT in the finals of MSI, they did exactly the same pick bans in game 1 and 2. It's like, you want us to remake? We're going to do the same champions. Except they can't pick Aurelion Sol. So there'll be at least one tweak.
Big fan of the run back.
Yeah. And it's looking like a run back. 7 for 7 so far of identical champs picked. 8 for 8. 9 for 9 with blocks. Now we get to see the variants.
Oh my
This is the
word.
moment we've been waiting for.
Oh, no, his heart. Oh, unlucky.
Yeah.
Crushed Aurelion Sol's broken dreams.
Yeah. Honestly, though, yeah, my best guess would be just to plug and play there with the Talia instead.
Yep. That's exactly it. I mean, it can be a similar style for sure as far as the early shove and then the roaming. It's just a champion he's probably not as masterful on because he's been playing Aurelion Sol since MSI.
Yeah. So good thing is, all of our stories that we were setting up before still reapply. We'll have to reset up each story here. Who he roaming, Smithy going for the counter jungling, bottom lane focus. You always do have to worry about the Gangplank and his ability to clear those waves. That has been, that was one of the things that was going really well for TSM. So maybe we'll see small adjustment from TSM, team play wise rather than in champion select, because that is something they can, try and account for. The problem is that even if you focus on the bottom side, once Hanser does get level 6, the Gangplank ultimate can also be used across map rather than on himself to clear waves. That's why he's so high priority right now. Very versatile, has a lot of different options with answering that.
We'll see what happens as they get into this game. You got to always think in a best-of-5 series, game 1 is kind of the equal to looking at the first few pitches. You can figure the team out, their aggression, how they may want to play this series. You never want to lose it. You don't want to let those games go. You're not just going to bunt one out, but you want to figure out what CLG is doing because they do counter logic. Head back over to Twitter, hashtag TSM win, hashtag CLG win. We're going to lock and load this one once more as we get back onto the rift. We're going to see Chronologic Gaming and TSM head off once again as CLG looks for the chance to defend their title in Toronto. And that's going to start right here against TSM.
Yeah, a lot of Worlds implications on the line. What we do know for sure is the winner of this series will be going to Worlds for sure.
No, that's true.
It's because
the points on that, yeah.
Right, and the reason is because both of these teams are the teams with the most championship points, obviously, from Spring Split, because this was the finals of Spring Split.
They got those nice swelled up piggy banks full of championship points that will allow them. Dash will discuss them at the end of the day, as he loves to do.
Yeah, in fact, even if CLG finishes 4th, if TSM wins the whole split, CLG still goes to Worlds on points.
It's true.
So if you are a CLG fan, you're going to have to be a TSM fan in finals if TSM beats you here.
Honestly, it feels
crazy.
like on the inside of every CLG fan, there's a little bit of TSM fan there. That's the little devil in them. And same thing
the other shoulder.
You're going to get a lot of angry tweets for that one.
Same thing for the TSM fans, honestly. I mean, they're like blood brothers, really. The two oldest teams. It's a very long relationship that these two teams share.
The two families, right?
Yeah, I mean, did you know that Reginald himself has actually played for CLG in our history.
Our?
Yes, our. Did you
I'll
know
give
that,
you that.
I also have played
I'll
for
give you
CLG?
that. You have the medal.
I have to say, there's most players. Never mind. All right, let's get back into this game because there
was
is
very
not going to be an early invade, it looks like.
Coco,
And
sit
both
down.
duos are going to start their camps, Grump and Krugs. We'll see how quickly they can get to lane. Should be fine for them, for both, honestly.
Yeah, and no harassment on the early camps either. Both junglers starting with an early pull. When this situation happened between Xmithy and Dardoch in the quarterfinals, I almost always preferred Xmithy's pathing. So I'm really curious to see where he's going to decide to gank first. The conventional wisdom would be you'd think he's going bottom lane, but I wonder if he's going to switch things up.
What would we see from him in that switch?
Yeah, so he has a lot of different options. Rek'Sai skips blue buff most of the time. So sometimes you'll see the Gragas take the red buff and then go immediately to the blue buff, which is why Svenskeren has left a trail ward at his own blue.
And Huhi this time around goes for the wave shove and gets 2 Raptors. Has improved since last game, so those little adjustments CLG already making from the last game. The thing that with Gragas, he has so many options. Actually, one of my favorites is something that LPL junglers do a lot, the Chinese junglers. They actually start on red, will get an immediate level 2 and go for ganks. But here, yeah, Huhi once again goes for that jungle invade. Does chunk out Svenskeren and actually doesn't lose anything, as doesn't get cut off by Bjergsen when he heads back to lane. So Huhi again making his presence felt.
Yeah, great to see. Very, very comfortable using that passive speed of being next to walls to make himself continuously in motion, giving hell to Svenskeren. He obviously smites his red buff to get himself back on his way, but it doesn't seem to phase Huhi here coming back into the second game. He's still adding the same pressure.
Yeah, what's super interesting here is it looks like Svenskeren is going with an incredibly similar route to what he did in game 1, where he took his red buff and now he's actually looping back up around and could probably just even go for the counter jungle of the Krugs, which will be later, and Xmithy's doing a completely standard full clear. So the situations that happened in game 1 are actually kind of repeating themselves.
All the way from champion select.
There's the ward, just cut it off. Well done, Huhi.
Flew over, this will help Bjergsen get his wave cleared out. Haunter and Darshan is going to be clean for now. Haven't gotten that presence from Svenskeren to the top lane just yet. But we might see it after this blue delivery.
Yeah, does get handed off the blue, loses 1 melee to the tower for his efforts, but that is really going to help as far as the shove is concerned and trying to keep up with Talia. Huhi, though, will get the first back, will get back quicker. Negatron Cloak already going to try and protect himself from the all-ins of Cassiopeia. One of those stories that we were setting up in the last game in Champ Select, talking about how Cassiopeia has been one of the champions that Huhi has had the most difficulty with. One of his personal demons that he's been trying to deal with is getting solo killed by that champion, and Bjergsen, definitely one of the most fearsome mid laners that we have in all of the North American LCS. So early Negatron Cloak, actually no surprise here.
All right, that actually plays into kind of what Alphamu and the team was saying. You kind of lose concentration in mid lane. If you do that against a champion like Cassiopeia, you could instantly be deleted very quick. Take a few steps forward too far. Bjergsen will know exactly what to work. 34 to 34. CS from throughout the season is actually pretty close by these guys. Bjergsen's around 8 CS. And then he's going to be around 7.1, 7.5 CS as they continue to farm per minute. So that lane should stay pretty even.
Gank approaching in the top side.
Oh, they're going for it.
Barrel's actually going to try to stop Xmithy. Very nicely seen as he plays himself out of that one.
Yeah, good flash there from Haunter. Definitely necessary not to die on the Gangplank in this matchup early on. This is the dynamic of the Gangplank Gnar that we talked about. Very different strikes for these two champions, but both of them can be, played to very early on in the game. Now he has no flash though, and the wave is pushing against him, or away from him. So Haunter can actually, or Darshan can keep this wave right in front of his turret. This is a very bad spot for Haunter because he's not even level 6 yet, doesn't have access to the ultimate.
Yeah, and something that did happen while the gank was approaching in the top lane is Bjergsen did get Huhi's flash in the mid lane. So we were talking about how he's going to struggle in this Cassiopeia. Already down flash, had to burn through all of his potions, and now he's not the first one to level 6 either. So Bjergsen definitely trying to make his presence felt in that mid side.
That positioning as well as he starts to go kind of horizontal to Huhi. Has the ward and Raptor brush so he can really start to play aggressive. And this could be where that starts to play, Kobe, where he starts to fall behind against this Cassiopeia. Bjergsen's closer and closer, and the next few waves are going to be at the turret.
Yeah, you can see Bjergsen playing aggressively. As you mentioned, Jat, when we were talking about the summer selection as well, Bjergsen is very clearly playing this to try and get kills onto Huhi. We talked about the stats for all of the lanes of CLG. In their roles, most solo deaths all across the map for them. And TSM want to try and punish that. Bjergsen's starting to play aggressively here, and they've got wards around mid lane. That's the most important part when you want to play that style.
Yeah, and I think CLG need to ward quite well as well right now because both their solo laners are without Flash, and Svenskeren is in their jungle. So Xmithy either needs to find that or be there for a little bit of protection. I'd say more so for the mid lane than for the top right now because of Meganar, but if he goes mini, that could be very dangerous.
It definitely could. Also, if we see the junglers, meeting up, Talia is now level 6. And when you talk about different strengths, her ultimate provides the ability to roam so much quicker than Cassiopeia. But if Bjergsen gets there very quickly, when his ghost comes back up off cooldown or something, then in the straight up stand-up fight, definitely has the DPS advantage.
Exactly, and that's not even talking about the roaming phase of the game we're at right now. It was actually 5 minutes and 30 seconds in the last matchup where CLG had taken their duo lane and switched up top. So even though it is a fairly simple strategy to just swap once the turret fortification is down, there are still a bunch of mind games involved because if you leave too early, you could even lose your turret on the other side.
Definitely a bit of a different dynamic here. We already had the gank from CLG bot lane with Smithy's invade. A lot of focus has been towards the top, but either time Darshan or Haunter have had each other pushed into the turret, so no real gank pressure has come of it. Haunter's been able to avoid the one, and something we talked about before as well is the pressure he can soak up for TSM.
Definitely true. And I have to say, one of the most important things about these two teams to me is the level of importance that both of these teams have put on mental fortitude, in especially this season. CLG, we talked about so much how they focused on teamwork, and they spent their whole last season retooling the whole team around that playstyle. TSM, hiring staff specifically to help them with, anti-tilt, basically.
Right.
And the mental fortitude in the game has really shown off. And I have to say, recovering after a remake like that in game number 1, and both teams playing really cautiously right now, this does prove the point here where both these teams are some of the most mentally strong teams that we do have in the North American LCS right now.
Yeah, and TSM getting a little bit of pressure in the jungle. It's again looking like CLG's playing a little bit passively. But to even continue on your point, Kobe, you look at CLG and the feature we saw on Huhi. When Aphromoo was talking about they think Huhi's a good player, but Huhi doesn't know that, so they have to tell him. Well, especially when he can't play Aurelion Sol, it's important he continues to play confidently, as there's plays happening on both sides of the map.
Definitely read there by Rek'Sai. Svenskeren used the ultimate, but bottom side!
Stixxay getting hit up, the exhaust is there. He still has flash, the heal goes down, fights across the map. Stixxay is gonna go down to first blood. That's Bjergsen coming up with the kill. Darshan answers back. The fight in the bottom is still going back and forth, and it's going to be double if down. Stixxay lived throughout it by holding the heal, holding the flash, and then fighting back.
Woo! Ridiculous. Across the map, 2 different victories here. CLG actually win the 2 versus 2. Everybody was giving it to Double Lift and Biofrost because of the strength there, but Aphromoo with the ultimate, that timely wish actually helps out both skirmishes.
Exactly.
7 summoner spells burned in the bottom lane alone.
Oh boy.
Darshan's got an angle on Haunter.
He has the barrel, he has the
too.
Oh, it's a hit for hit! He gets the orange in, it could be K. Burning Bjergsen comes in and saves him. Oh my word.
Everybody's had that moment where you have the red buff burned on them, you throw your last auto and walk away,
pop
try
a
and beat
potion
the
and
cool
squeeze.
guy. Not so cool there though. The citrus, the power of citrus prevails.
All right,
and
let's see
Haunter
this
walks
all over
away.
again. This was pretty chaotic.
Oh man, the pillar to start off, they get the snare, they even get the slow and exhaust there on the double lift, and the heal really turns it around on him.
Yeah, Stixxay can just flash follow as well as Aphromoo, and they go right onto double Jhin traps, but it doesn't matter. With the damage down, Aphromoo can continue to heal up, and that really salvaged that play for CLG.
Meanwhile, though, TSM fans and CLG fans with a TSM fan inside of them can both be happy about the top lane side, where Bjergsen picked up a kill on Cassiopeia. He actually did get the first blood, so he got the bonus there as well for TSM. And Cassiopeia is where TSM want to play their game off of. So both teams actually getting a lot of money on the strengths that they have drafted towards.
Yeah, with the Abyssal Scepter completed in the tier already there, we're going to get to see this one more time as well. So this is where Svenskeren jumps on a bit early, and Bjergsen gets here within good timing. He gets the damage for the ultimate on everyone. And we're actually going to get to see Haunter, who has his flashback.
It's going to be one of these games.
Where are you going to flash, bud?
Same focus here for CLG on top side diving.
Oh, he has the ult. He can throw down a little bit.
Flash now.
What a play! Has to watch the retaliation here. He gets himself out alive and throws up a barrel. The team, one side, like I said, he soaks up the pressure and does so much for the team.
CLG go back to the same strategy, the same draft. They roam to the top side. Again, Haunter lives, and they're not done yet.
And now they like to fuse in their favor. The shot's coming out, the curtain call. And they're gonna shove Stixxay off the stage.
It's because of the deferred pressure on the map. CLG used all of their eggs in top lane, and then because Stixxay and Aframo were just trying to salvage something, TSM was able to punish it. That's the team-wide communication and trust coming to fruition. Haunter survives the 3v1. The rest of the team capitalize.
Gangplank so good at absorbing pressure in the top side and punishing you on the opposite side. TSM got a Drake off that, plus a straggler kill there as they were able to chase down Stixxay. Really, really big swing for TSM. And they really did see that strategy coming once again as CLG used everything on the top side. I have to say, Haunter has done such a good job of saving that heal for the last second. It saved him twice. Darshan underestimated it before, walking away from the last auto. And then once again here, he eats the fruit at the exact same time he flashes under turret and survives and almost got a counter kill onto Huhi in a 3 versus 1 scenario.
Incredibly close, but the one thing that CLG can walk away with as a success there is they got an unanswered first turret. The dive that TSM did onto Stixxay was not a turret granting dive. Darshan has a Frozen Mallet completed now, which will be in a long lane, which means it's unlikely the top lane can get something back.
Yeah.
And with Soraka and Sivir, it's very difficult to push them in for the bottom side. So this could be an unanswered 1,000 plus gold because of the first turret for quite a while.
And we talk about that matchup, how Gangplank can get to what he wants to be, but that Frozen Mallet is finished very early. And now Haunter's gonna have a hard time doing pretty much anything. With Vision, makes it a bit easier, but just watch. This is exactly what he can do every time Haunter steps up to the plate.
Yeah, as far as unanswered, the importance of the Infernal Drake is actually twofold here for TSM because they do have all 3 lanes building extra damage as well. So it's very good early Drake for them in that trade. And we'll have to see if that does, turn out to have any issues here for CLG as, Double Lift on the Jhin has gotten to the early armor penetration. Jhin is one of the best champions to have an Infernal Drake on. And the color's about to pop for him as well. So we'll have to see if they start trying to use this Jhin ultimate to start picking people off, creating opportunities for themselves.
We spoke about it before, but the Jhin plus Gangplank is an incredible synergy. I think especially against Soraka. I think that's going to threaten Aframo a lot.
That could be a position to start it with.
That could be the Jhin ult, then the Gangplank ult to follow if they want to finish him off. Could it be over the wall? They said we don't need it yet. Hold it, and TSM are sure to secure that kill.
Woo! That's not even having to deal with the Soraka through Wish as well. Burned a flash from Xmithy and the ult from Aframo, still get the kill.
See, you have to be cognizant of that danger that we just talked about. When you're fighting for this vision, it's very dangerous. That wasn't even Aframo really getting caught. That was even the mobile jungler here. They were even trying to be safe, right? It's very difficult. You're playing against a Trundle Pillar, and the enemy team has these long-range Gangplank and Jhin ultimate abilities that can catch you out, even if you're not in TSM territory. So, very good pick there for TSM. They didn't really get an objective afterwards, but we did just get to see an example of that power being used.
It's really the first Bio Trundle we're seeing this season as well, not something he's put into his pocket for the picks he's been using. So coming out strong with the melees as well shows he can also diversify that champion pool. 3-2 now, 15 and a half minutes in. We were talking about that 15-minute mark. It's usually about 1,600 plus for TSM, and that's where they found the bank account once again. Very strong early game. See if Darshan can keep holding those side waves and really allow CLG to come back.
Yeah, Darshan is definitely the man CLG are looking to. He's got the CS lead on Gnar. He's got that kill money as well. all of that contributed to his early frozen mallet here, and he's trying to make his presence felt. We'll see if he can actually bully up here in the long lane and try and create anything. As we said, though, Gangplank, Ultimate is so good at trying to answer cross-map.
Yeah, and something these teams need to think about as well is how are they going to create their advantages and ultimately win the game. You look at CLG, they have not the greatest ways of getting onto Hanser or Bjergsen. Like, if they can't actually get onto Bjergsen, it's going to be very difficult for them to end the game. And then TSM, likewise, they're the long-range pick team. I think that's the way they get it, because otherwise, the disengage from Sivir and Soraka and Gragas is going to be pretty immense. We may be in for a long game if these teams don't go incredibly aggressive.
It seems that CLG has kind of tempered themselves a bit. We saw a lot more action from lane to lane, and actually more turrets dropped, so that kind of escalated it as well. And here things have slowed down a bit as TSM gain a lead. And Hanser keeps soaking up CS in the top lane. He's going to catch up quite soon.
Teams are going for plays on opposite sides of the map right now, so that means CLG have to recall their bottom lane. They're sending so many people top that their bottom lane's got to be the target. They know this. TSM have full vision coverage, and it will just be the trade of objectives. Good job by them recognizing that they're overloading that other side of the map, and they need to back off. Again, the importance of that wave clear with the Gangplank.
Yeah, and it's actually not a trade yet because they didn't get that bottom lane turret, and they're wondering whether or not Huhi should pull back. I think eventually they can pressure it, but that requires some really deep vision in the TSM jungle and a large commitment to get an interior turret. So far, it's actually just a positive trade for TSM, and they're in position for the respawning Drake, which is a mount.
So much vision for TSM setting up for this Drake. And the other thing that you were kind of touching on earlier, how you thought it might be a long game if they don't go aggressive. TSM is the team that want to kite back through their Gangplank barrels, their Cassiopeia, and their pillar spam. So the Drake is just so hard to contest there. You have to give it up if you're CLG. You can't afford to check into the fog of war versus a team like TSM have built here, and they want to try and kite backwards.
Yeah. A lot of wards as well. Look at the bottom side of that map. It's like a light bright right now. TSM side. Going to be towards the top side for CLG. Kind of playing process of elimination here.
Whoa!
Wards on the bot as well. Equinox onto Bjergsen. He's silenced out. And Biofrost is going a little bit harder there. Bjergsen's backed, and they can't really continue on this. Really just added pressure from the curtain call. And CLG is getting the Herald for Darshan, who again is going to be big in those sides.
Yeah, that's going to be a big pickup for them. As we said, this is the guy they're trying to play around, so they're putting more effort into that, putting more resources into Darshan with the Glimpse of the Void. That's going to further empower, his split push and his 1v1 ability. I have to say, Aphromoo being on Soraka there did save CLG's butt in that pick because it could heal up, and the Jhin ultimate obviously does more damage the less health you have, so Soraka has to keep topping people off to reduce the further incoming damage of Jhin.
Huhi took a lot of hits from that ultimate, and it was like, oh, it's full health, it's fine. It wasn't even a problem.
Yeah, the problem really comes up when Soraka's the one getting shot, because she can't heal herself, and she's very slow, and she has to only use her flash to get away from Trundle Pillars, so Aphromoo is really the guy that has to be most worried about his positioning, because if he's the one getting shot, then they're going to have a lot of issues.
Also incredibly aware of those situations. Something like that happens in the blink of an eye, and you got to be ready to have a cross-map save.
Yeah. Sticks A pop the Sivir ult, like, run, Afro, run, because you better...
Yeah, right? You're always going faster. Speedy, medical Soraka. 20 minutes coming up on the clock, and TSM, #1 and first Drakes in the game, and they continue that throughout here against CLG in the playoffs. Also grabbing a mountain as well, so once they start to approach the turrets, Chronologic Gaming might have some trouble.
Yeah, I like what TSM are doing, actually. They continually position Hanser into the lane to try and wave clear, and then overload the other side of the map to get these turret trades. And then, in each of those trades, they get a little bit of tempo. Bjergsen actually roamed up to that top side to make sure it did happen this time around. But this time, Styx and Aphromoo, they zone Hanser off the turret, and CLG should probably be able to get that answer, even though Rek'Sai ults down.
Yeah, they'd have to be a little bit careful, because if Rek'Sai ulted down and the GP teleported behind them, they'd be in a pretty sticky situation. But that's why CLG have brought Xmithy and Huhi into the jungle, just to kind of be insurance in case something like that happens, and to maintain their one turret advantage on the map.
All right, now they're being a little bit adventurous, though, because they don't have wards in this bottom side, and the rest of TSM have started to rotate down towards them, so CLG can't really stick around for extra pushing here, and it is intelligent that they do back off now.
This is a really tense game. You also have to consider the mental strength of these teams having to go through the remake. I really credit CLG for just kind of swapping in the Talia instead of the Aurelion Sol. The team fighting, I feel like, towards the end isn't going to be as strong for them, so it puts more of an emphasis on Huhi to try and make these side lane plays, which hasn't happened yet, because you think about a late game team fight, a Weaver's Wall flying into a Cassiopeia is just a wall. Like, the Talia is gone if she follows that in.
Yeah. If we already, start look at the scaling for each of these teams, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Stixay's shoulders, because Stixay is the late game carry for this team. He's on the Sivir. He's actually off to a very good start, so that's not too bad for CLG. He did get one of their 2 kills, and he has the 2 item components of the core items for Sivir. Once he does get the Infinity Edge to top it off, he can actually carry team fights if Hufi just controls the zoning for him. And allows him to get off a lot of those ricochet autos as well as boomerangs. But Gangplank Ultimate once again.
Then Skaran goes right onto Stixay, working the ground is Huhi from the back here. And now it's going to be a big cast from Xmithie before he goes down. All of TSM come out pretty unscathed and look for more.
CLG had arrived to that turret early and really wanted to finish it, but they did not give enough respect to the GP and Jhin catch right there. All it took was that one shot landing on Aphromoo, and he was gone. And now TSM are the ones that are getting the mid lane turret, maybe 2.
You guys said it's going to be difficult when they can get Aphromoo with that front end damage. He goes down, and everybody else runs for the hills. You can see how hurt Huhi is on this one. So CLG not giving respect to TSM towards their side of the map, and it cost them.
To CLG's credit, they had rotated early. They just had to fall back a little bit earlier before the turret was there. Once Skaran is able to go in on the GP ultimate, they can knock Stixay up while he's in there. Xmithie was trying to tank them up, but he was also dying to Bjergsen, so he had to eventually let a shot through to Aphromoo, which was fatal on that side, and they both go down.
Not really allowing Darshan any time to get into the fight. CLG has to recognize that's where a lot of their power is here in this game. Mid turret still prepped to go down, so gold for CLG to pick up there. They just have to be very careful about how they go about it, as TSM will be ready for the attack. About a 3,000, 4,000 gold lead really here for TSM as they continue to control the game. They just haven't really taken that control into their favor yet. They're allowing CLG to just come at them as they are that counter-attack team.
That was super interesting. Bjergsen actually sacked that mid lane turret because no local gold were over to CLG. So overall, it's a denial, but temporarily it's gold for CLG.
Yeah, a few hundred gold there denied, but the gap actually opening up is pretty good for CLG. As this Drake is about to spawn, they put down a pink ward on it, so they're trying to set up for this fight. They want this fight to be the one where they come back into the game. They don't want to let TSM continue to control the Drakes. Watch the Gangplank ultimate once again, though. They're going to try and use that to get damage on the back line and soften them up for Jhin.
And also pay attention to Meganar and also where Xmithie's ultimate will knock people. If Xmithie can get Bjergsen into the fight, there's no cleanse, and even if he has flash, he may be dead by the time he can react.
Good choice there from TSM to actually control the mid wave and pressure CLG on their secondary turret rather than feeding into the Fog of War at Dragon. Now, step 2, they can just move in, clear out those wards, and claim the Drake as well.
And you cannot base check into a Gangplank and a Cassiopeia, plus the Trundle and Jhin to run them down. So by pushing out the mid lane there, TSM was able to swoop back down and just outmaneuver CLG for the Drake. They're able to do it because they're stronger right now, but it was still a very nice map move by TSM.
So if that map move were kind of be disregarded, what is CLG's option there? Or is the move they did just have to be done? Whoa! Never mind. The next move from TSM is even more right than the first one. They get 2 kills. And you don't even have to answer that.
Yeah, the problem with picking Cassiopeia like that, with the seismic shove, you have to turn your back as soon as you seismic shove her in, because you have to expect, once Bjergsen gets shoved under the turret there, that's going to be his immediate reaction. But he just gets the double stun there. They get a double kill, and CLG need a miracle steal.
I talked about TSM not fully taking control of the game, but there they have taken hold of it completely. Terms of their own attack, and then on the terms of their own Baron. We'll see it once more here.
Huhi had gotten hit up by the Jhin to begin with, so that was a pick one way or the other because they had split to do the 1-3-1, but they didn't have the safety in the mid lane in which to disengage. And because of the double Mountain Drake, the Baron was paper afterwards.
Yeah, there's just so much threat with this Jhin. You know, even when off screen, Doublelift doesn't have to be in the screen, and CLG still have to respect members of TSM looking for duels like that, because the long range damage right now, you know, he's got all this extra flat armor penetration, and he'll shred anyone on the front line of CLG. So it makes it very difficult to try and take those stand-up fights with anyone that TSM decides to pick.
I also have to commend TSM for their confidence in their own versatility. Throughout the regular split, maybe you could have criticized them for being too cookie cutter with their drafts and playing smaller champion pools. And even though Trundle and Jhin are common champions in League of Legends, they're actually two champions TSM hadn't played in the entire split.
Whoa!
That's a thing.
Yes, sir. Darshan teleports immediately out because they saw TSM leave bottom lane. He's just like, nope, nope, nope. Not going to stick around. He does get that solo kill gold.
Yep.
However, CLG are going to have to try and wave clear here with Baron buff still on TSM. It looks like taking out Gangplank is enough to do it. So that was a very key outplay from Darshan, a very key solo kill for himself. As we said, it's going to be CLG having to play to their strengths here with Darshan and with Naren. This basically saved them not only the bottom lane pressure, but also the mid turret. That turret would have died to the push of TSM were not for Darshan relieving pressure.
That's tough. You have Baron, I have Rift Herald. Let's fight.
Yeah, and he's Gnar with the frozen mouth.
And you're Gnar. So we will see what kind of options TSM can provide for themselves here.
He's still Gnar, but there's a lot more people here.
Oh, they knew he just Gnar'd back down to Mini, if that's a thing. So they get themselves right in and out of that play, not even within aggro range of the turret. So that's going to fall in their favor here. Like we said, TSM starting to take control. And then now in the bot lane, it looks like this second turret will fall. The first inhibitor of the game. And it does not look like CLG will be able to do much. They may put up an ult from McSmithy here to get Monster in. Hello and goodbye as they drink him under the table.
Called it, Riv, right there. Smithy, good ultimate. And CLG already able to get one kill. The Sivir ult was used here. Can they chase down another? They're cutting him off.
It's gonna be tricky. They
the
have
bounces.
to get right onto him.
Nice boomerang as well. Working the ground as he goes the other way, trying to stay within that passive wall movement, but they don't want the full chase. Like we said, it's still difficult to walk into a team like TSM, even on the chase. So CLG say, we're good with protecting the base. We'll set up some more defense here.
So they have to be incredibly careful against Bjergsen when chasing in, who is becoming a monster on Cassiopeia. But as long as they can keep getting picks on what is mainly a squishy triple threat team composition for TSM, they're going to be able to continue to prolong this game. And that was an incredibly dangerous situation. One of the main ways CLG can prolong this game is by having split push pressure with Darshan. The way you beat that is you kill a split push pressure and then you try and push 5v4. TSM had done all the prior steps properly, but then Haunter gets caught out. Xsmithy had a great play, and it has to reset once again.
Yeah, both teams have really played to that teleport style. Bring it to the teleporter, not to the other side of the map so he can teleport. That's been done on Haunter in the early game, and now for Darshan here toward the late. 29 minutes as we come up to crest, 38-4. It's 56,000 to, we'll give CLG 49 as we round up. The huge lead here as TSM continues to be able to replicate this early game play style, always find somewhat of a lead, even if their turrets are being taken down, even if it seems like they're being worked around the map. Now try and steal the blue away from Guhi, and they will be successful. That Jhin ultimate opening up. We see that between the Ashe and the Jhin lately, and I'm actually starting to favor the Jhin a little bit more. You miss an Ashe arrow, and it's kind of, you miss a Jhin shot, you have a few more to slow it, even AoE style, and continue that fight for your team. And TSM has one that can catch up nicely.
Well, as of right now, CLG are going to have to turtle inside their base, play defensively, watch out for that long-range damage of TSM. You know, during that time, Darshan's going to try and split push, but he doesn't have teleport to get back. So they're just trying to wave clear here. Luckily, you know, CLG, they obviously do have the Sivir, which is very good at it, Anthony in the mid lane. And with Baron being taken very recently, they don't have to worry about that. This Draco, though, has to be forfeit. I don't really know if they can actually afford to risk another team fight loss. That might be the game if they lose another one.
I feel like CLG should actually just try and get as much wave pressure and wards in the Baron area as possible while TSM is taking this third Mountain Drake. As far as Drake stacking goes, 2 Mountain Drakes versus 3 Mountain Drakes means you're either killing Baron instantly or almost instantly. So there's not that much of a difference as far as the strength, in my opinion.
Yeah, the focus of this game right now is on the next team fight, right? The next one is going to be what breaks this thing wide open. And CLG don't have too many more chances. TSM have accumulated a very big lead here. They have a lot of map control as well. So CLG are going to have to make a very quick decision during the next team fight and just run in with the Sivir and make one of those surgical plays here. Darshan's level 16 now on the Nard, does have his flash ready, so they can try and isolate some of these squishy members. As you said, TSM, they're a team with triple threat, so if you get the jump on someone, you can try and kill them quickly, but TSM looking very strong.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a dream scenario for CLG's team fight, and it's basically if Talia can get a nice wall across TSM that segments some of them away, and then Darshan can Meganar into that and get a massive ultimate on many people. The problem with that is it's been so long since we've seen a fight. Like, TSM can flash away. So you have to find a way to get the flashes first and then pull off the combo, which is, like Kobe says, why TSM is looking so strong and very likely to win this game.
It's one of the reasons why I love seeing Talia in game is because a creative ultimate can change a 6,000 gold lead and completely make it a much different fight if you can separate the team from each other. Something you can create by yourself is very, very strong. It's just who he has to put himself in a pretty dangerous position to do that.
Definitely true. Most positions right now are very dangerous for Huhi and CLG, as TSM have deep wards. Look at all these deep wards.
Oh, there's the pillar. Huhi can't even ult to get out of this one. He would have knocked off the surf right away. Alframu saves himself with the ultimate as well as some damage from that star call, and everybody continues to get pushed out here as TSM is just roughhousing CLG in their own jungle.
And Bjergsen solo killed Darshan on the other side of the wall right there. So that was CLG attempting to pull off and just completely flopping. TSM way stronger and looking poised to win the game.
Bing, bang, boom. Takes him down. The inhibitor follows right after with its turret, and they could be looking to go for the Nexus turrets here. Really lighting a fire under themselves to come into this little bit of a remake game. Both teams coming out very strong, and TSM is going to try and find the Nexus here in game 1, 11-4, as they battled it out in CLG in the early game. We're going to have to see how much closer this series can get. We are going to be going game 2, as TSM is up 1 game.
And TSM has to feel quite happy about that game. Ponser dodged a ton of pressure from CLG. Bjergsen was dominant in the mid lane, and Doublelift and Biofrost were pivotal in getting picks for TSM to close out this game in pretty quick fashion. 33 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah, with both teams being confident and sticking to the same strategy that they attempted in the draft for the first game that was going to happen, we saw it play out really similar to the opening lines of the first game. And then TSM with a very big push in that mid game and really utilizing the Jhin ultimate for all of the picks that we saw. Even though Doublelift hasn't played it in the LCS, definitely finding the mark in this game.
A lot of the times of what we saw in this one is Darshan now coming kind of back to form, but it seems like the team is almost giving him too much. As he would pull up to Hanser in that lane, he'd get more of the team when he's almost like, hey guys, I want to party alone up here.
So I keep talking about, the different strengths of the GP and NAR matchups. We did get to see it pretty clearly in this game.
All right, so now let's check in with Dash, Mark, and Crumbs for more on that TSM.
You just say, but we're better, so we should win.
Exactly.
And here he's saying, no, we're not better. We just work harder, which makes us better, which is a big mind shift.
Right.
Different double.
It brings up that topic we were talking about, mental fortitude of both of these teams and how these are two of the strongest in that area of gameplay that we have in the North American LCS. Right now, it's CLG who are going to be tested in that area to see if they can come back. Now they are on blue side, so TSM actually get to save their last pick, and they get to decide which counter pick they want to go for. The CLG are going to have to show early.
And we're really wondering who he is going to play, because they are put in such a tough situation. Aurelion Sol, potentially his best champion coming in, one of his top champions. They can't play that anymore. That tilts off the face of the planet lesser teams and lesser players. CLG have to be able to recover, and I really want to see what he plays.
Definitely curious. He has had success on Cassiopeia, taking that in the past. However, Bjergsen definitely willing to play counter picks into Cassiopeia and, try and, gank there as well to punish. The other thing is that questions arise about, the rework to Ryze. He used to have Ryze as one of his best champions. That was probably his best champion.
That was
much better than Aurelion Sol even. but the champion, that was reworked, and, has you put time in on that, because it actually opens up some really weird windows where the new Rise is also actually a roaming champion with the new ultimate and can pull off some interesting plays.
Do they go as crazy as to now with the Echo Open, switch that around? We know Darshan has played it, we know who he has played it, but not seen it as much in the mid lately, obviously. A lot of options.
Yeah. Interesting final ban there with the Ashe that doesn't necessarily pinch the AD carries because you can still Sivir and Jhin. There's also Karma on the board if CLG wanted to get that very early on, and they do.
Very smart lock-in. See what the side of TSM does. A little bit of Huni love, as well as that heartfelt to Huni.
Yeah, while CLG have had success with the Karma, and while they, have shown a focus on it, it really does break my heart whenever Aphromoo is not on one of those champions that he himself has the tools to create a play for the team. I mean, yes, he can protect people, he can speed them up, but it is going to mean that there's more pressure on the front line. Smithy and Darshan to be the ones, to pick up that playmaking role for CLG if this is a support Karma. It very well could be shifted over to Hui, so, still a flex pick, and that could be some of the mind games going into this champ select.
Smithy will still be taking the Gragas, what the guess would be. That Sivir Gnar picked up on the other side, so Haunter tries his hand at the Gnar here with the GP being banned out. We'll see what CLG continues to do here at picks 2 and 3.
Well, that Gragas, if they do lock it in, would fill that role very well as far as playmaking from the jungle. So it could be Smithy, as the other guy on the team making a lot of the calls, especially in the early game. It is also good to have him on one of those playmaking champions, and that will probably be top lane Echo. But as you said, Riv, those are very much still flexible for them if they really feel like they need to.
Yeah. And CLG has the most flexibility. I mean, we talk about who he's champions, and I talked to him after MSI. He said his 2 favorite champs were Echo and Aurelion Sol. We've seen Echo in a few places. They could put the Karma bot, the Echo mid, or the Echo top. Like, really, TSM knows the champions they're playing against, but by no means do they know the configuration.
I definitely do love the Proto Belt Echo mid. So much burst potential. And he's extremely slippery as well. It's the kind of champion that he likes to play. He likes to play the style where he gets into the middle of the team fight. He can try and target out a priority target, and then just pop his ultimate, create space for the rest of the team, back out when he needs to.
CLG showing their final hand here in game 2, picking bans. Stixxay with his tried and true cover of Warwick. Very well may be. We heard kind of the caveat to the Syndra pick was having global ultimates around. So GP is out, Syndra feels safe for Huhi, and the Caitlyn gets locked in for Stixxay.
So they do go with the Caitlyn, which, both Stixxay and Doublelift are actually the 2 kind of Caitlyn players of the NA/LCS so far. And it does have, some early pushing. You have that range advantage over Sivir. It's a really good matchup, if you have the duo lanes. Karma plus Caitlyn should blast the Braum and Sivir. I mean, they shouldn't even let them get to the minion waves to start shoving that wave. We'll have to see what happens with the level 1, who gets to the wave first. Can they get control of it and try and get to level 2? But I would assume that CLG are trying to go with, putting more emphasis on getting that first turret, trying to bully out straight up in lane phase.
And I think that actually influences the final pick from TSM. When they throw in the Lissandra with the teleport, that's going to potentially punish CLG from pushing up, and they're going to try and stop them from cashing in on that incredibly strong dual lane that they've picked.
Both teams locked in. We see that is Darshan's Echo in the top lane. More carry potential for him after even having a rough season. Everybody on CLG really believing in themselves. We heard Darshan kind of talk about a lot of the things with the team weren't fixed because they were trying to fix the things behind that scene, behind the play. And now it seems like all those are fixed and the play is starting to come to fruition. We'll have to see. It's going to have to be strong here as TSM has momentum coming out of game 1. And Counter Logic Gaming here again looking to get that chance to defend their title. It means so much to them.
Yeah, TSM, they do have the momentum. They also do have the advantage in mobility as well as the extra teleport. You talk about that Lissandra, one of the biggest things is as you get later into the game, those teleports to the side lanes. And if you have Sivir ultimate on your team as well, it really helps bring it all together, allowing the rest of your team to collapse on those plays and make sure that the timing for your teleports and your engages in the pincer movement actually do work out. for the engagement.
All right, everybody at home, the doctor's office, wherever you are at the park, hanging out here in the studio, make sure you head over to Twitter, hashtag TSM win, hashtag CLG win. They need all the help they can get on both sides. The strength of the fans comes through. Manifest that power for the team you care about. It's going to be here for game 2 on the Rift. We'll see who gets that power from their fans.
Oh man, the early laning phase is going to be very important. Pre-level 6 even, how much pressure would CLG be able to put onto Doublelift and Biofrost? Doublelift and Biofrost statistically have been the best duo laning team in the NALCS, but they're in a very disadvantaged matchup, at least in the duo lane. So now it's also on the rest of the team to influence that side.
Plus, Stixa and Afromu, 2 versus 2 last game, killed Doublelift in lane just by themselves on that bottom side of the map. Even though they lost the game, that does do something for the mentality of the bottom lane. And with the players in this bottom lane, Doublelift and Afromu, obviously longtime partners playing with each other. There's so much that goes into every iteration of this, actually. With Stixa kind of graduating now, he's still freshman, but he's more senior than Biofrost, and now it's Doublelift that has the more rookie player on his team that he's been coaching. And this is honestly the biggest stage that Biofrost has played on with the team.
And Biofrost was wondering how he was going to do in the playoffs. Like, he's had a good regular season, but he even said he's a little worried he's going to choke. Like, he wonders how he's going to be able to stay in this. Game 1, he played a champion he hadn't even played on the LCS stage before, did just fine. And they need 2 more wins to advance to the finals.
It seems like it's always been that condition for Biofrost on the team. His first games with TSM on that Karma, flashing forward for initiations. They put a lot of confidence in him, and it seems to help and come through in his own play. Start off to see a very different mid lane here between Syndra and Alessandra from our previous one, so maybe a little bit more action between those two, as well as Huhi trying to keep control of Bjergsen for that TP.
Yeah, we talked so much about the dual lane matchup and how the rest of the map will influence that. Well, mid lane has 2 champions that are great at setting up ganks. Syndra onto Lissandra, if they can chain that with the Gragas stun, could be an early kill. A little bit harder to gank Huhi because of the cleanse, but if they get an early flash, it's another high kill pressure lane.
Definitely true. And look at all the opportunities for harassment for the Karma and Caitlyn lane. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about shoving them off of the wave. Afromu has landed every single Q so far on Karma. Stixa even was able to land the Peacemaker, even though he didn't get the godlike trade with Headshot, which you obviously always want. They were able to gain that control and push them under turret. Now we'll see how much harass you can actually get while the Sivir tries to CS.
Yeah, and this lane pressure also influences jungle pathing as well. Can Rek'Sai clear faster or can Xmithie clear faster? They're both level 3 right now, but they're actually both slow playing their clears. A lot of times when the dual lane is highly combative, you see a rush for the Scuttle Crab. That's actually not the case. CLG wards it instead.
And both of these junglers do have extra options for very creative jungle ganking paths. So even if they do get Scuttle Crab, your Rek'Sai, and he's actually not even going for it. Haunter, though, going to take some damage, but they're actually moving up to claim the Scuttle Crab with the pushing bottom lane. One of the extra benefits of double range, Caitlyn Karma into something short like Sivir and Braum. They can even double down on those objectives that you talk about, make sure that there's going to be no influence from the Rek'Sai. And if you are Svenskeren, it's so scary to go gank that lane because Karma and Caitlyn should be chunking out, getting constant harass on the duo, and you have to be sure there's no counter gank there.
Now, one final thing about that dual lane as well is it's all on Doublelift and Biofrost to keep the lane even, because if they're not dying and if the pressure that they have attained from being pushed in doesn't translate into Svenskeren getting heavily counter-jungled or anything, then it's actually a large win. So far, it's actually been a win, and Svenskeren is going for Darshan.
He wants to keep him out of the parallel convergence. Actually, it's the flash out. Very nicely done. Darshan still has his phase dive for lane, but he's going to have to play a little bit safer.
So much value out of that gank from Svenskeren. That took him maybe 5 seconds out of his way because he was going to travel up to Krugs to clear that anyway. So it's a very efficient gank. Just pass right through, get an instant flash, and then go right back to farming on the Rek'Sai. Doesn't lose any time at all. Now Darshan has to play a little bit more cautiously. And you were setting up before, how can the other lanes affect that bottom lane as well? Top lane priority is definitely going to be a thing, as Darshan also had to use his teleport to get back to lane. Now Haunter has that advantage.
incredibly even across the map to start things out. Instead of junglers slow playing things a bit, haven't seen each other too much. And Svenskeren was the first one to really put something on his plate. Looking at CS even across the board. Doublelift continue to farm under that turret. 6A, Peacemaker every time he can. Back to lane. And we'll see what they buy.
Yeah, it looks like it's recall. He's recalling on just enough gold for a BF sword for the Caitlyn.
And TSM, every time this Caitlyn Karma lane recalls, they have to have it in the back of their minds that it's a possibility to try and overload another side of the map. That's why one of the changes that I really like that I've been seeing in pro play recently is every recall, a dual lane will leave the fountain heading up mid lane and then make their choice 4 or 5 seconds later as to which lane they're going to head to, waiting till the last second to get as much information as possible. As you can see right now, CLG have opted to the top side. They are going to try and go for that, post 5 minutes overload on the top side.
And now TSM's going to have to adjust as quickly as possible. They're running out that side as well. They're saying they're on the way, but Svenskaren's not level 6 yet. Bjergsen might be able to TP. How quickly can they get there versus how quickly can CLG get the wave into the turret? Looks like TSM will be able to get there in time, but it was pretty close.
Again, this is the kind of suspected play from CLG. Uh-oh.
Slim escape by Bjergsen. Nicely played, though. Not allowing the stun to hit before he can take the spot.
And even though TSM do read that play, as we said, it's become sort of the expected play post 5 minutes whenever you see the enemy duo recall first. There is a couple of seconds lead that is earned by Darshan in the 1v1 lane because he got to recall a couple of seconds earlier. So it's this cascade of events where it's like a domino and 5 seconds here translates into 5 seconds on the other side of the map, and they keep on swapping back and forth.
Seems like CLG's aggression to kind of put damage on TSM has been tempered as well this game. Wow, nice fight back there. Biofrost with a good shield to stop the trade. It's going to cause a few potions to be popped. But things have slowed down across the board. Lanes once again being matched up instead of swapped. We'll see Doublelift continue to push this in.
Yeah, we talk about how Caitlyn shoves in Sivir and how it's a good matchup, but it's not a super easy matchup. Like, Sivir has ways in which to outplay. The burst from Sivir with an auto, a reset with the W, and a boomerang blade is really hard to match for almost any AD carry. So 6 has to make sure he doesn't take more trades like that.
Jungler invade here from CLG, though, as Smithy finds Sven.
Flash over the wall. That's just going to be Smithy pouring one out as they try to get him before the flash. But it's pressure now from CLG. I was saying it was tempered a bit, and they turn it on there.
I think Smithy tried to fit in that auto, actually, instead of going for the instant ult. Now Sven is waiting around to try and get this smite about to come up for both of them.
Haha, I'm still here. Nicely done.
Smithy did use his smite there as well, and Sven was able to get it right afterwards.
Oh, gets the flash because of the threat of Bjergsen taking the claw and flash ulting. Credit there to TSM for collapsing, and Smithy couldn't quite stick around. Probably shouldn't have tried to stick around for that Gromp steal.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta send a message at that point. You're ready to just try and take it.
Yeah, I mean, especially based on his itemization, sitting on about 1,000 gold. Like, Smithy had just been out on the map for a little bit too long. Probably just trying to press a little bit since they had lost that first game.
Show them that they're not afraid to keep going hard. John, pretty nice parallel convergence to keep himself safe, but Haunter is getting attacks in nicely to at least make it a hard time for Darshan.
Yeah, if Echo's not able to get the third proc there for the passive, then losing out on the trades as he tries to exit. Here goes Hootie, though. Chunks him out. This is for lane presence. Uses it just for damage right there. Bjergsen not deterred. Still has potions to chug, so he's just going to chug right through those, though.
Easy clear, pushes Huhi back up to his turret. This lane still staying very even. Like I said, CS at 10 for these guys. Relatively close, with or without that jungle pressure. And this time, Huhi now is going to be able to come back with blue. Bjergsen, this just becomes the wave clear lane. It makes me a little sad. Obviously, they're going to have big plays later, but it's the lane you always want to see kind of going hard.
Well, Riv, one of those big plays could come in the form of a teleport from
That's true. That's true. We're just above alts now, so we could see something big.
If that wave control, as you say, does go in Bjergsen's favor, then you always have to keep that in mind. There are a couple of deep wards for TSM on both side lanes. It's actually a very curious one that was placed by Haunter right in front of the turret. So if Darshan does push up, either top or bottom are opportunities. The top side is actually really far past that deep ward right now. They did not sweep. Yeah, that ward right there. Good job, observers.
Got him. He's going to hatch it. He'll just back on it.
So the ward will get
won't.
them delays on the backs rather than a teleport opportunity. And Bio opts to stop the AD carry. So definitely some value out of that one.
It's going to mean, actually, Doublelift can get a decent amount of damage on this turret. I wonder if Stixxay's even going to go back now. Because if he does, that could actually be first turret for TSM. Notice how they're rotating over the jungler and the top laner. Ooh. This ward could have a big cascading effect.
You're absolutely right.
Top lane pressure here.
You can see Stixxay kind of second-guessing this. Is Aphromoo close enough to shield me and run out if he has the mantra? It's not going to happen. Power and numbers here for TSM.
This could be first turret.
Top side.
Could be first blood.
And I thought they were going to give this up. As I said, it's going to be a little crazy for the fight. Here comes Toohey over the wall. Oh, there's Peacemaker from downtown coming in from Stixxay. They're going to be able to turn this one around as TSM came in for sure on their aggression, and it got turned right on their head.
Not the first blood we expected there as they jump onto Aphromoo, but that's the power of the exhaust and the shielding from Karma, and Huhi with the clutch collapse.
Oh, they're not done yet. Bjergsen trying to get back to lane, and he does get out of his own jungle. Look at CLG going for the invade right after they win that skirmish. This is something that they actually have been punished for in the playoffs so far, is going for invades and staying a little too long after they get their first victory. But look at that. Good little adaptation. They only drop the wards and then leave after one camp. They're not going to be punished for overstaying in the TSM jungle as of yet. But that first turret is still available, Jat. First turret gold, definitely still a high priority. Here we go, though. They turn it around on Svenskeren as Huhi lands his stun, and then Stixxay.
Yeah, a little bit of desync in the coordination from TSM there. Svenskeren was taking the Gromp, whereas Bjergsen then saw Aphromoo for the kill. If they would have jumped on Aphromoo together, they'd probably kill him. But they weren't actually expecting to run into a Karma there. They were just prepping to dive, and Svenskeren was taking the Gromp in order to be efficient.
Yeah, all things taken into account, that was an incredibly risky thing for Aphromoo to do, but comes out on top. So you only can smile about it in the end. TSM were kind of figured out the same thing. They were reacting, like you said, to something they didn't know was going to happen. Here, Doublelift goes one-on-one with Darshan, but has the help from Biofrost. And Darshan says, I don't want to miss these minions, but he does anyways.
Recall delaying extravaganza going on left and right, everyone trying to interrupt each other's recalls, and it's so important actually in this swapping back and forth race because every one of those recall interrupts buys you 10 or 15 seconds of tempo on that individual person.
Like this recent development as well, very intelligent for CLG. Even though the gold is very even, look at the advantage in wards. The CLG have moved up a lot of deep wards where they have defensive wards for pink wards in their own side. So TSM haven't been able to get the same sort of early alert on these swaps. You talk about extra 5 seconds or something, you know, there's no early vision to allow TSM to try and react quicker to CLG's moves, and that's why they've been, you know, maybe one or a half a step ahead. That being said, though, gold is slightly in TSM's favor as far as getting right into the actual combat.
Those moments of rotation have always seemed to kind of favor CLG. And the upper hand, a little power play for them if they catch a team in lieu or in movement to the other position. So far, they've gotten Stixxay a kill on that. He came out of that play with 2,500. So let's see if they can play around him again. In these intense moments, they have looked to Stixxay before.
Yep, and I still do have my eyes on the teleport of this Lissandra. Bjergsen, he would ideally like to get level 11 first, to have another level in the ultimate and really have a higher impact. But every ward you see, like that one placed in the side bush, is a possible teleport position where TSM could try and blow this game open.
Yeah, and notice how TSM is keeping the wards up as much as possible. There was a ward just like this in the top lane when Stixxay and Aphromoo were there, and that, in a sense, is kind of keeping CLG at bay. They have to curb their aggression. They can't use their exhausts and flashes until Bjergsen is either pressured out or no longer has teleport.
It's interesting the way I see it. TSM has adapted that. They can't really get their wards in, so they'll say, even if we get a minuscule of distance behind our opponent, we'll take that forward ward brush, and that's enough for us. Back to pretty much standard lanes now as Haunter returns to the top lane. Only a bit of CS lead for him, but pretty much even across the board from there. A much better game from CLG here to put themselves into a great mid game.
Yeah, I mean, we said this is... Ooh, maybe they fight over the sword kill? Nope. But yeah, this is why we're talking about CLG. They've actually practiced playing from behind and practiced coming back from deficits, both in-game and obviously within series as well. So holding
A bunch during the LCS.
yeah, I mean,
kind of practice.
You talk about that, but honestly, a lot of the late season victories for CLG in series were 2-1 victories.
Well, they seem to make the right considerations. I guess once the win comes out throughout the season, to focus on this or that and not just try to make the gameplay better. Sometimes if you don't get that, it just fails.
And something that CLG did not get in the regular season were wins against TSM. Not able to get any games. Looking for the first one here to try and even up this series, as both of these teams have champions on them that have been in the finals before. And as Darshan said in the video before this game, they play just for the finals. Their eyes are on playing in the finals. They feel like that's where they belong, both of these teams.
Yeah, and in this game in particular, TSM is starting to get the lane pressure where it matters. Haunter is able to push back Darshan because he completed that frozen mount. That's probably going to make Darshan teleport back. He ults back. That's actually really key because he needs to teleport to be able to still match the teleport to the bottom side. That was really critical that Darshan did that to get back to lane.
See if he can stay there. He's already chugging his corruption potion, and Haunter.
He didn't actually get to heal the full when he was on base because he wanted to make sure he could ult back in time.
Yeah, and Haunter is continuing to push him in and keep the pressure up there. Double pink wards are backing up Haunter's aggressive play right now. So we'll see if this move from CLG right now, they're again overloading the top side. We'll see if this plays out, because right now, first turret gold is on the line, and they have to do this quickly. TSM have not shoved their top side up, so CLG need to push very quickly if they want to make this work.
I'd say this should usually be that time TSM takes Dragon, but Svenskaren's up here as well. Haunter's going to swipe him back, but still gets taken down.
It's a race.
Yep, they got the kill, but can they get the turret? TSM are on it. They have only got 2 people.
Got the Sheen on the top side for Darshan here. He's going to be able to slap it a little bit harder. And it looks like they should be able to get it quite equally here on either side. Svenskaren's going to be forced to back. Can't even really Void Rush to the bottom to give help to the team, and they're going to trade him out.
Team that has put the most focus on the new objective of first turret gold. CLG, in their previous playoff series, they got first turret gold in 3 out of the 4 games, and they're going to be able to get it here in this game versus TSM as well. But again, TSM still slightly ahead in gold as they answer bottom a little bit later.
Even though CLG barely got that turret, since it was traded, it's just going to be the 400 extra gold. So the bonuses that CLG have gotten with the extra gold from First Blood, even the extra gold from first turret, still do not equal the gold in the game, in which they are now down, just because the farm from various members of TSM is high.
Top side and jungle are really the main ones for TSM.
Now they can get Cloud Drain. So it's interesting how TSM are just continually able to farm out. Like, for how much Stixxay and Afromu were rotating around, they're going for Afro.
Whoa, belts over the wall. They should be able to get him in the final here. Tether on to Bjergsen to nullify the damage, then puts the shield out. Deja Vu and Afro not going down, and the fight being turned around. Biofrost is the next to get hit up, and now they look for Haunter and Svenskaren. Svenskaren slowed a little bit there. There's nice. Scatter the weak. Will they be able to take him down? Xmithie tries to get the drink out. The slow's not there. The tunnel is found, but they are able to hit it. Huhi comes up huge, and CLG do it again.
Pretty big swing here for CLG. Yes, TSM do get the Drake, but CLG are going to get the map pressure. Mid turret going down.
Afromu once again looks like he's caught completely out, but they can't kill him, and then CLG turned the fight around.
Funny how I'm like, oh, I hate it when Afromu's not on a champion that can create plays. Well, if I just walk over there and put my body in danger, play created.
Boom.
Uh-oh, actually,
wants something.
He's trying to cut him off.
Stixxay, he has both summoners.
Whoa,
Doesn't even go for
whoa. Trying to make a solo play here, but also buy time for the team. It may just matter. He belts forward as well. Helps with Haunter to get the kill, but they're able to priority focus Haunter. That's Afromu going down as he steps back in. Bjergsen's going to be the focus. Glacial Tomb to save himself, and will he go down? Double it flashes out to return a kill. And they're able to keep Bjergsen alive. Somehow they turn this on CLG's head as they return the batting order just to fight.
TSM strike back very quickly there. And that's the Lissandra teleport. in display there from Bjergsen. However, the difference between those two teamfight victories was that CLG got mid-turret after their victory, and TSM can't get any turrets
Right, it was a scramble.
after that. Well, maybe they can push up mid of that. No, the minion wave's too far up. So
Here it
basically
is.
the
Yeah,
difference
all
is
again.
that turret.
Yeah, Bjergsen has the proto belt here, so his burst is very high. The flash ult by Hanser to get Stixxay means Bjergsen can close that in. And then Afro is pretty low on the outside, but Huhi, he has his ultimate up here, so he wants to try and get Bjergsen great timing right here as CLG is able to get fully engaged, and that allows him to clean up a kill.
Yeah, Huhi definitely should not have ulted the Lissandra that has not used her ultimate yet, because Bjergsen is going to be able to use that anyway, and should have ulted double lift there to try and maybe get another kill. The other thing that I saw in that fight is that Aframu tried to play the mind game with Bjergsen of taking the claw and walking the other way, but Bjergsen's just like, okay, you're going to walk into me, I won't take my claw.
Yeah, and there was also a really slim margin in that fight. Like, they had just fought previously. So the cooldown of the Syndra ultimate and Lissandra ultimate, it depends on the itemization. Cooldown boots and the Abyssal Scepter for Bjergsen gives him a lot of cooldown reduction that who he may not have been expecting. So really slim margins in that last fight as these guys are trading really big blows.
This is crazy. Thought I was watching an LMQ game. Spawn and fight. Spawn and fight. Keep going. Here we're going to get more of that here out of this semifinal matchup. See Huhi cleaning up a bit of the blue buff as teams take a breather after all that aggression. Looking at where it came out in the kill board, Huhi and Bjergsen have 3 now after all that, and are able to complete 2 of their items, 2 core items for Bjergsen. Huhi's still trying to create that. Get a Rylai's on himself.
Yeah, he's gonna try and get a little bit of survivability just because Bjergsen can get in so tight in these team fights and he doesn't want to get one shot.
Very interesting how the team fights are going to play out as well. Because CLG have completed Stixxay's build of the Infinity Edge plus the Runos, he's actually spiking pretty early here, whereas Double Lift has the extra cooldown reduction. It's not going to be as much in combat power. However, Double Lift will get a lot more of those Sivir ultimates off with the extra cooldown reduction and trying to chase people down. However, Stixxay can already pump out that Caitlyn damage if they keep him safe, and it's going to be a lot of more long-range kind of poke damage and zoning with the Syndra as well, that Huhi's been pretty strong on thus far. So interesting little differences here for the team fights, as TSM are going to rely so much more on the speed and Bjergsen getting in there to start it off with the Lissandra.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure is going to be on Huhi to create the right opportunities in these fights, and it's going to be so difficult for him to get the right types of ultimates off of. You almost want to forget about ulting Bjergsen unless Bjergsen has already ulted someone else, and instead just try and be that huge amount of damage on a tank at the start of the fight, and then just spam AoE stuns throughout it to enable Stixxay.
Get as many orbs on the ground as you can to get out your stun afterwards. And the other thing that's changed recently with Syndra, for people that weren't paying attention after the Mage updates, is that she can also pick more up with her W and throw those for a bigger spread of a stun as well. Smithy, though, exchanging with Sven as Afro is able to facilitate the escape.
Things are building once again. The tense, or getting very tense, I should say. Both teams are kind of trying to figure out what the power is, where they can get in next, and this is where kind of mistakes are made when you take that wrong consideration.
Yeah, I mean, CLG, TSM have been fighting for over 5 years in League of Legends. And
tell me, Kobe.
What was it like in 4 years ago in 2000?
I like this accent you're doing, Jat. This is our new skin for Jat, Gentleman Jat skin.
Also, back in last split, CLG did the 1-3-1, which now TSM is employing in this match.
Jat will cast every 4th game in this voice.
But actually, the 1-3-1 is what TSM is doing this game with the double teleport, and since Huhi had to bring cleanse, it changes the dynamic of the match. Like, CLG is a bit more group and team fighting, and TSM are the ones that want to get the teleport flanks in, so they're kind of playing CLG's old game against them here in the summer.
Exactly, this is what we talked about, setting up the speed and engage versus CLG's ability to keep their back line safe and firing. Syndra and Stixxay here on the Caitlyn can both put out pretty consistent damage, and they also have the backline support of Aframu trying to keep him safe. So that's why CLG are grouping up and flanking coming from TSM.
No teleport yet from Bjergsen. They actually
They are pinging the wards that are possible for the teleport, but with
Baked it.
Karma
Yeah.
Shield, you can speed right out.
Smart, you know, Bach there from TSM as they wave clear and earn themselves the objective without having to risk anything. Now they Simmerall
to the Drake!
down to the Drake. This is so much focus on objectives here from TSM. They're able to get the turret gold plus the Drake, really outplaying CLG with that speed that we talked about. Oh.
That's hype. Siverall just to get to the Drake faster. We already have Cloud. Just go faster, man.
Oh, let's go.
Who needs team fights?
Bjergsen going back. We've been talking about try not to ult this guy when he's got his ult up himself. Now he's got his Zanyas to mess with your mind even more. So the priority for him becomes so conditional now in the fights. And it's going to be very hard to take that into consideration. They only have a split second to really make things happen. QSS for Stixxay, he's trying to keep himself safe as well. Gonna put that in there as a third item as things are getting a little hairy on the map now.
Yeah, this is one of these games where I think CLG has a decent amount of confidence trying to go late. And they didn't want the full item Stixxay with the Karma to help shield and make a hyper carry. But it's risky because it's not like 6-item Sivir is a slouch by any stretch of the imagination.
Definitely not. And Doublelift is one of those players that has had success also flashing in with Sever. You know, keeping the enemy team on the run. When he's got a front line like Lissandra Nar, here we go though.
We've seen these plays before. Stixxay at MSI was able to do it on the Caitlyn. This time completely locked down. They make sure he's the target because of the threat he can create and flash right into the structure. Unfortunate for Aphromoo and very fortunate for TSM.
And Darshan ulted there with Echo back to the original location before his teleport went off. So he left the area. The duo gets killed for CLG. They're not able to group up, and TSM are able to find the flank.
Nice scatter on Svenskeren, trying to get Xmithie a safe passage out of here just in time. He buys an ult from Hanser as well before he gets out.
Really interesting fight there, though, because Stixxay was up, and it almost looked like CLG was trying to bait TSM with high confidence in that fight, but they got destroyed. I can't wait to see that one again to see if the QSS timing was off or if Bjergsen did something. I know the Proto Belt Lysandra is something that is actually even higher burst than the normal Lysandra.
Right.
You can get those close-range Proto Belts off.
We'll see how it happens here.
Watch this. The teleports are going to be matching each other, but Stixxay QSS is fairly early. Then the Braum stun can come in right after the knockup, and he's just unable to auto-attack for most of it. Bjergsen getting all of his damage off, and then after that happens, Echo has to ult backwards, and it just turns into disaster for CLG.
Bjergsen did ult there with the Lissandra ult.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So we QSS, I think.
Got that, and then he was looking exhausted right after as well. Things just got harder for him. Yeah, the question is, though, with all of those down, there with a lot of things necessary for TSM to kill Stixxay. While his flash and heal are down, he will have that CC cleanse for the next time. It may make him that much safer from out.
Yeah, watch it one more time. Stixxay did have the instant QSS after the Bjergsen ultimate, but there was just much more CC to layer for TSM, and
Yeah. Too good, too quick. It made you think you use it on now.
Love
Yeah.
those layers.
didn't even see the ult.
Well, the real question is, can CLG actually find success even if they group up now? Because those last few instances where TSM have been playing to the strengths of their team, you know, and their speed has earned them a turret, a Drake, and a kill. But now CLG are actually catching out Haunter.
Freeze.
Goodbye. That's you catch the Pokemon and send them back. It's too low level.
What do you mean? It jumped out. So,
Haunter will not be turned into candy. Thank you very much.
28 minutes on the clock. He'll feed him to his friends. 47,000 to 50K. TSM again find themselves that lead and continue to hold on to it. Counterlogic Gaming is looking for that end, looking to see if they can find a Fog of War scatter that zeroes somebody out with the extra power they have. And a bit different of a game here for Darshan this time. Not ahead of Hanser. Almost 100 CS down at this point.
And you can see the results of the last fight have just completely turned the pressure around.
Good
Not
shot.
quite enough.
Oh. Patience. Holds the ult. Holds the Zanyas. A lot gets used for safety. And after all that initiation, Xmithie goes back in. He doesn't have task here. Bjergsen says, I'll give everybody time to come in with me. There's the Zanyas after. They pull the scatter from Huhi. So the crowd control may be down, but Bjergsen has now given himself up for the fight to happen. And that may be in CLG's favor as rest of TSM couldn't get as close as Bjergsen could. Darshan's left now as he gets himself over the wall with a bit of a hop. And he should be good to go. Harshan Hanser Gets himself to safety. Darshan could not follow him.
Yeah, I think Darshan was trying to roll and then flash over that wall.
Right.
But he did not use his flash, did not get over the wall. So CLG, instead of chasing down a kill, they're trying to get the turret.
A really crazy fight so far from CLG, just sticking to it and getting the sustained DPS of Caitlyn out. But they've waited too long in the past. Bjergsen's teleport is up in 10 seconds when he revives, and this could be another fight if CLG stick around.
And they have to leave because Stixxay's at half, Huhi's at half, everybody low health bars here. And TSM will be willing to use one of those very deep wards. They have so many options on the map right now. And CLG do make the right call. They do back off. I have to say, one small mistake I saw in that fight, Huhi actually tries to get a stun here. And if you ever use your Syndra E and don't have a ball in front, it's going to be the next one. It's a long period of time where you lose power in the team fight.
Exactly. Watch it right here. He's tried to stun with a minion, but that's not how it works. He picked up a minion instead of a ball and didn't realize it.
So that's why they had to disengage here.
Yeah, the fight extends. Bjergsen tries to go in hard for a fight. Haunter did finish off a kill on the side, and here it's really just Stixxay getting off sustained DPS. He trapped on top of the Zhonya's, which is why they were getting this. And I was very impressed by Haunter's jump over this wall. He hugs it really tightly, and then is actually able to hop that with Nard. That's a wall that's hard to flash sometimes.
Yeah.
The hop doesn't have the cheats that Flash does to be able to skip through a wall. He has to completely clear it. So I really thought Haunter was dead there, and it was going to be a 2-1 for CLG, but it ends up being a 1.
I did think Darshan was going to follow him over, too, and continue the chase, but not so for CLG. And they'll just take a little bit of gold, but TSM, again, get the objective afterwards.
On those Dargans. Goes down in their favor. That's going to be another 3 for TSM here. Elder Drake will be coming up for us next on the map, and definitely been a better game for CLG. TSM usually at least attempting or baiting Baron 25 minutes in the majority of their games, and it really hasn't even been an option for them. CLG looks to kind of just create a wall of defense here to make sure Vision is not spreading into their jungle, and they're still able to stop this TSM lead. 4,000 gold is pretty strong in the hands of TSM.
And it's still going to be a really difficult game for CLG to come back into. They need Stixxay to be safe for a very long portion of time in these fights, but his items aren't even where Doublelift's items are from a damage perspective. Doublelift is in the Super Saver zone, where if there is a congested team fight, he's going to be able to kill the whole team, on top of Haunter and Bjergsen being very healthy with their CS and itemization right now. So TSM is going to be able to be the ones baiting around the Baron area and forcing CLG into fights, and are in position to control this game.
Yeah, the objective control from TSM so far this series has been immaculate. CLG have actually not gotten a single Drake so far this series, last game and obviously this game as well. And TSM are putting down the vision to keep CLG honest here. It's very difficult for them to move outside of this sort of defensive semicircle they've got going.
Almost becomes the fact that TSM is happy to keep a small gold lead, and then just understands that will provide them benefit in fights as they come up against CLG. 35 minutes and then 40 minutes. A small gold lead is always going to have Doublelift stronger, somebody else stronger. Seems like that's all they have against CLG right now. CLG also themselves aren't making that many errors here.
Yeah, it is going to be, difficult for CLG to win the team fight here that's about to come up because of the positioning and the vision advantage that TSM have. But one thing that is really beneficial is if Syndra can get one of those pass-through stuns onto Doublelift. Because Doublelift, as we said, he's shouldering most of the onus of dealing all the damage for these late-game team fights on the Sivir. And okay, here we go. Some screams coming out, but no engagement. But yeah, the best thing about Syndra is that her stun can't be blocked by people except for Braum. So it is going to be up to Biofrost trying to get in the way.
I do think CLG also has to be a little bit careful, though, of Huhi getting bursted out. No magic resist inherent in that build, and Bjergsen's burst is really substantial. So we know that Stixxay and Huhi are going to have targets on their back. Bjergsen and Doublelift are going to be the targets that CLG is trying to get in on TSM. And I think we're going to be getting some relatively explosive team fights. So much of it could come down, though, if a team can get a pick.
CLG very ready. Bjergsen has actually bought an upgraded sweeper as well to make sure they have all the options to initiate when possible.
Yeah, he definitely needs to get a good flank off. Good thing for TSM is that Bjergsen has flash ready. A lot more kill pressure there when they do have that. CLG are going to rely on their extra range, try and get a little bit of poke down first before the engagement from TSM.
Another thing that's in TSM's favor here is just the split pushing of the Gnar. Like 100 CS up on
Yeah.
Darshan.
Just gonna say that.
And even though he's not necessarily getting solo killed, it's never going to be a wave that's pushed in CLG's favor unless Haunter abandons it.
He has a full extra tank item over Darshan in the team fights. So definitely will be massive. Plus he's first to level 18.
He's a big boy. Mid lane's really the only one that's on that next, and it might be Bjergsen or Huhi first. Level 3 ultimates for those damage dealers are pretty much there. Stixay just waiting on one more level for his Caitlyn. And TSM finally starting to encroach on the CLG side of the map, so it means they can finally move their vision forward.
So if we look for the next couple of steps, it's hard. Oh, okay. Well, here we go.
This is the
Play.
step. The
What's the
Baron
next
is
step?
denied vision right now.
And the reason why TSM can't force anything out the turrets is they are short range. It's very difficult for them to force anything on turrets versus a Caitlyn and a Sivir. Okay, well, we're gonna force something in the jungle here.
A little wallop.
TSM is trying to get CLG in the open so they can Sivir ult them and run them down. But with Mega Gnar down, that's a missed opportunity, so to speak. It was a pretty amazing set of vision control, though, with denied vision on the Baron and Mega Gnar, but they were unable to convert anything.
Yeah, if CLG actually have the chance to set up around an objective with the Caitlyn trap, that adds a lot to their teamfight presence.
This is one of those moments where it explodes. When teams start playing horizontally in mid lane, it's
Bjergsen
usually
wants
about to
TP.
happen.
Look at those wards
Yep.
placed as TSM are pinging a bunch of different options here for teleports.
Basically, TSM is starting up the Baron. They're either going to take it, or if CLG checks, they're going to try and teleport in behind with Lissandra. This is the plan play for TSM. CLG has to stop it. They have to go now.
4,000 health on the Baron, 3,000, here it comes.
The fight.
Baron gets left out. Aphromu's going to be the focus here. He goes down in the end. Haunter's taking a lot of damage. They try to get to the back line. Bjergsen throws down the ult. And Xmithie and Stixay in a bad spot, but still able to deliver DPS. And that's why it's a bad spot. As soon as they jump on him, they have all the say in the world as to what happens and continues to happen in the fight.
The fight was set up by TSM for several minutes, and it was beautiful coordination from a wonderful team.
Call of the day as Baron is taken by TSM. 10-7 as we approach 30 minutes, and it seems like history repeats itself for TSM and the Baron.
Well, honestly, yeah, CLG were in a bad spot. As we said, they kind of were forced in this position,
Right.
but they focused on Haunter. As we said, he has an extra tank item, and they can't get through him.
Yeah, and it's just the setup was so perfect for TSM. They didn't even take that much damage on the Baron. They denied the vision the entire time. We had already mentioned how Huhi was going to be vulnerable to Bjergsen's Lissandra. He gets pretty much obliterated by Bjergsen's Lissandra, and no one on CLG had a way of entering that fight properly. They couldn't have the setup because they were forced to get pulled into that spot.
Oh, you were talking about those dominoes, Kobe. They're falling real fast right now for CLG.
Yep.
Coming crashing down.
And that's all about TSM with their objective control the entire series. Now they have Elder Drake on top of the Baron, and they'll be looking to move inside CLG's base. This is the last stand for CLG. Set up your line of traps outside, hope for an overdive by TSM and some communication breakdowns during the dive. And hopefully for CLG, they can try and make a last stand. But for TSM, they are looking very, very strong right now, trying to make this series 2-0 in their favor.
Just look at that, the difference in the playstyle with Haunter's now Gnar compared to what Darshan's was doing last game. Obviously the teams as well helps to make that successful, but you see Haunter and Bjergsen, both 5 kills, those solo lanes, always coming forward for TSM. And it really helps everybody on the team be confident about their plays and to achieve results as such here in Game 2 versus Counterlogic Gaming. Pressure towards the mid lane as, like you said, Jet, the 1-3-1 is just tearing CLG apart and wearing them thin.
Yeah, and this split push is just going to continue right now. They have to be very careful who they send at Bjergsen. There's only just the QSS on Stixay, so he's the one who can withstand it. Huhi most likely can't withstand it, and TSM with the Elder Drake, you don't want to team fight him. With the Baron, you don't want to let him 1-3-1. What are you going to do? You'd have to get an amazing pick onto double if CLG want to stop this from working.
This is almost one of those times where you wish you had that Talia wall to create the fight you want. Be able to separate a huge fight that gives you Bjergsen and Haunter. But that is not the choice. You have to come up with something even more creative. And with TSM's vision all the way up to the base, CLG is going to have to do it from inside their own house. First inhibitor turret goes down. Mid lane wasn't even the focus, but still has minions crashing in with Bjergsen. And TSM are starting to turn the base to shambles.
Yeah, just the last 5 minutes by TSM have been so cleanly played, taking the game from a close affair to really just looking like they're going to be able to close it out.
Yep.
That's never going to work. You have to shield up.
Really something we've kind of questioned about teams when they get to this point. Yeah, they can play well throughout the game, but we see a lot of international level teams be able to close those games out when they get the aggression, and TSM is definitely starting to come into that light as a team that can use that advantage to end a game.
TSM have had such a good split. This is probably the best split that TSM has ever had. As they talked about, they had renewed focus after losing spring split to Counter Logic Gaming. And they put everything into working as hard as they possibly can for this split. They didn't take a break during MSI. They trained because they saw CLG get the glory of winning North American LCS and going to that international play. Now this for them is very sweet for TSM players and TSM fans trying to get some redemption against CLG.
And you get to see the results of the work, not only from the 17-1 record, actually being undefeated against every single team who's in the North American LCS playoffs, but just how cleanly they set up plays.
A lot of the times they can focus that around Hanser, or the bot lane, or the mid lane. The age-old question is, would Doublelift to Bjergsen work? Yeah, it does. It does. They aren't struck for power. Nobody's resources are depleted. They can play either way and give and take things to make each other better.
And while I have seen CLG come back from giant deficits bottled up inside their base, right now, TSM have 2 Guardian Angels plus the inhibitor down, not to mention the giant item lead that they have almost everyone capped out, and they're just gonna run right through CLG's base right now.
They say draw. CLG says we'll keep guns in pocket for now, but they might start to fire back. Just getting them off the front doorstep. Looks like they hold the inhibitor, but still, once they have to focus on that bot wave, things are going to get bad.
Yeah, Doublelift actually was chunked a little bit in that engagement. TSM know that they don't need to take any risks, though. So if anyone like that gets chunked out in the back line, they can immediately just call it all off and regroup and wait for the wave to come back.
And we mentioned about their team composition. They're not the best at sieging up turrets. That's why they spend so much time setting up and baiting the Baron. If they don't get something somewhat safe here, they're going to go back, run the Baron play again 2 minutes from now.
That's Garen. Got the Guardian Angel, also has a Banshees to keep himself very, very tanky here. And you can see he only walks out with just about half health after being targeted by 4 members. Trap line goes down from Stixxay, and it's just about all they have before a fight has to happen here inside their base.
Yeah, their strength is pretty overwhelming here, 13,000 in. I don't necessarily know if they can get the inhibitor on this push, but it would be, as far as being able to force a Baron and force a fight in the open, that's more where they're going to have the strength.
Definitely playing it in a cautious manner here. TSM, they do got the extra Nexus turret kill though, so that is open, plus the inhibitor's down. So many angles for TSM to threaten CLG.
And so relentless. Only now are the waves just pushing away from CLG's base. TSM had things set up for so long coming into that. Credit to CLG as well for holding off as much as they could, but TSM will be back, and it's only going to be harder.
Yeah, the trickiest part for TSM, if they decide to force the Baron instead of going and forcing the inhibitors again, is the fact that everyone's max item, and that means they don't have any slots for pink wards. So the type of vision denial they had the last time on CLG won't be as easy to set up this time.
First World League problems. I got too many items.
Too much gold.
We all have a whole item lead over our counterparts on CLG. But that, plus the Trap Queen, Caitlyn, Stixxay lining it up in front of their base for the last defense.
Oh no.
It's not a problem if
they don't even need to teleport in. Bjergsen's behind them.
Oh, mission impossible from Bjergsen. The cleanse happens immediately. There's also Mikhail's for Stixxay. He gets that as long as a heal from Alpharu, but he still goes down. There's too much front-end damage from TSM. A double kill for Doublelift as he comes up strong with the ricochets, and now they're on to Xmithie. They will finish that kill. The flash over from Doublelift to solidify and secure that fight for the team.
Yeah, and it only took for CLG to go out in the open before TSM could flank him once again.
Said that's where they were going to want the fight. Kind of put the carrot on the stick and reel them out of their base, walk them out slowly, and then they attack. They set up the bushwhack. They come out strong again in game 2, and padding the scoreboard a little bit. Here's Darshan says, walk this way, not towards the Nexus, but TSM knows the focus, knows the priority, and look to game 3 as game point for CLG.
TSM now 1 game away from making the finals for a record 8 straight split. And they're looking pretty dominant along the way.
Yeah, this time it seems almost unstoppable. Whoever they meet in the finals, if they are to win, is going to have a tough task, as well as CLG, if they step up, are going to be a team that we have to say is, this can happen in any game for them.
Spoiler, it's Cloud9. That's who's waiting for everyone in the finals.
Oh, no!
Spoiled
Didn't win
yesterday.
spoil career. No, it's fine.
Honestly, though, yeah, TSM, they have had the best regular season split that the team's ever had, and it's impressive that they're not slowing down here. A lot of people have questions, you know, with Immortals having a couple splits in a row where they had these amazing regular season performances and then fell off in playoffs.
Yeah.
TSM, they're looking like, you know, they are all seasoned players here except for Biofrost, and they focus so hard on the mental aspect of League that they are going to keep it together when the pressure mounts.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see how CLG can try and fight back, because we know reverse sweeps are a possibility and have happened
Absolutely.
Like really a lot.
All
in League of
the
Legends.
time.
Way more than you would expect, but it's going to be really tough for them because they are actually getting outmaneuvered in the mid and late game, where last split, if they were getting into games like that against TSM, it was CLG coming out on top.
Well, with all the game 5s happening recently, maybe we'll be blessed by the League gods with one more of those. For some more analysis of that game, let's head over to Dash and Friends.
Thank you, Riv. And
Over 100 CS.
Playing huge. We'll see what happens coming into the next one. We swap it back. TSM on the blue side, CLG on red. Back into picks and bans as you see the previous games. And we'll see what they have for each other here. Shenplay has been coming out for a few. Also could be a global possibility that these teams are favoring. But it seemed to be that tried and true, they're kind of sticking with the same compositions each time with slight adjustments.
Yeah, TSM will be very happy to opt into the exact same build that's been finding success with previously in the series.
Yeah, interesting to see that we're not seeing many large switch-ups from CLG, especially with stuff like Tom Kent and Vladimir being banned, because you can always trade some of the OP champions unless they haven't necessarily practiced them themselves. So far, though, this is looking like a favorable thing for TSM, only because they won the first 2 games with very similar bans.
The Cassiopeia possibly coming in. They left that up once. They've kind of put it, or they did put it on the ban list as well. They are taking their time, considering how everybody on the team feels about it. I see Zix got
Honestly,
the final call on it. Is that Cassio?
I'd like to see a CLG take a couple more cross-map tools here. Maybe them actually try and prioritize the gangplank and get Darshan going. Oh, never mind. Too late.
Yeah, and then the other
good
cross-map
thought.
tool you would have would be a Shen, but you don't want to lane Shen against
Yeah,
Gangplank in
not
most
anymore.
situations because it allows Gangplank a fairly free lane.
Yeah, even a bully lane.
So take the bottom this time. Even leave that jungler up, which we haven't seen Xmithy do. That's been a Gragas pick for CLG throughout these pick and ban phase. So they take the bottom lane and they say, TSM, show us your cards. At least a few more.
Yeah, the Jhin will allow them to help
Yeah.
get a few picks here, and it can help them set up. It's like half of a cross map.
Yeah, and it does deny the combo of the Jhin plus Gangplank, so they're stealing it away from TSM as well. And that is definitely one of the big things that TSM were able to use against CLG in game number 1.
I'm curious to see if Sven Skaren goes with a Rek'Sai or a Gragas, since Xmithy's actually been prioritizing the Gragas over Rek'Sai, but it really seems like Sven Skaren is totally comfortable in that side of the matchup. I don't think he has a reason to change, and yeah, locks in the Rek'Sai.
And 80 in Italy. No, they take the Braum. That's going to be locked in. Gets it for Biofrost, so he goes back to being a little bit tanky. We saw that in one of his 3 most played as he was matched up against Aframu. His tank was Alistar. But I don't think we'll be seeing that here throughout the series. CLG goes for their pick side. Echo's open once again.
Yeah, so Echo is definitely one of the champions that you can take into Gangplank to go for those kills. And it looks like CLG will opt into a very similar strategy. They're giving away the Gangplank, and they're saying we're going to take a favorable matchup into this Gangplank early, and we're going to try and kill you, push you into your turret, dive you, whatever it takes.
TSM, though, just putting together the same type of strong competition
answer.
they can. run at him fast with Lissandra. What's Huhi going to do here? Because he could very easily take the Echo mid, and they could throw a Gnar top lane and still be successful.
Yeah, it's just that Echo is such a good like counter pick into Gangplank in that lane. The breakpoint comes, even though we've seen this over and over, and where TSM, oh yeah, you go up to Gangplank and Hansel gets out and he's clearing all these waves and it looks great for TSM. There is a different road that matchup goes down. If CLG can actually convert on their focus top lane, they start killing Hansel early. They deny him that early gold from Gangplank. Yeah. Gangplank is one of those champions where, yes, he gets bonus gold from killing minions. If you deny him early, it stifles the power curve for him so heavily that you can try and go for one of those early game wins. And CLG also drafting into the Jhin with the early armor penetration builds makes me think they're going to try and go for that style of play.
Whoa. Kassadin?
It's holding. Time's up. And that Kassadin is going to be locked in for Counter Logic Gaming. Huhi takes it to the mid lane.
I love it. Another counter pick lane here for CLG. They've counter picked both of the lanes. Kassadin actually doesn't get pressured too hard by Lissandra. Early on, yeah, she has wave control, but Huhi should be able to CS under his turret. He should use his magic damage shield from the Q effectively to try and avoid getting harassed too low. So that mid lane isn't a real big point of pressure. We'll see how the matchup plays out, but it doesn't seem like Beershon should be able to have too much controller, and Hui's just trying to wait to get to that level 6, and then they have the possibility of Jhin setting up picks for Kassadin to chase down.
Yeah, I like it as a counter pick, but he has never played Kassadin competitively. He's played 24 unique champions, now 25. First one on Kassadin.
Remember
an elimination game to go from the finals.
Remember his Varus game? Hadn't played Varus in over 2 months. And he says to the team, Varus, perfect counter pick. You guys trust me? His team said, yes, we trust you, and they won the game.
Yeah, you know what? 100% on that Varus.
Yeah, he has 9 champions. He's only played once. He's 6-3 on those champions. So his pocket picks are usually relatively successful.
And he's had 13 unique just this split. This is number 14 now in the playoffs. We'll see how they do. We're loading into game 3. Update your predictions for this match. Show your support with hashtag TSM win or hashtag CLG win. The faith has to be there as they enter into this final game. TSM says they're ready to get back to the stage, and Counter Logic Gaming's hearts are in it along with the fans to defend the title, and this could be their final chance. It's their say as they get themselves onto the rift, and we'll have to see what happens. As I say this, we will have a slight pause. To start things
There's that build up again, Riv. You build us up. Okay, calm down.
Just comes crashing down. Where's the crescendo back down, Riv?
Such a tease, TSM.
I mean, this is pretty crazy, actually. Like, the way CLG has constructed this team composition with the Kassadin mid and the Echo top, if TSM gets an early advantage and Double starts roaming around, like, where is the wave clear? CLG's towers could come crashing down. Who needs it, right? The Echo, kind of, but a tank Echo doesn't clear the wave as well as an AP Echo would. Jhin, maybe. Like, it's something that CLG has to be able to convert and snowball with fairly early.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a Gragas, early playmaking champion. They have an Echo into a Gangplank role. You know, they can try and, punish that. They can even try and punish the bottom lane. Jhin is good at setting up and capitalizing on early ganks and trying to get, pick kills there as well. So it is up to CLG to make early action and be proactive in this game. But I like not backing down from the challenge, right? Their backs are against the walls. They're down 0-2 in this series. They have to make something spectacular happen here to change the way this series is going and get it back in their control. And they've opted into the double assassin snowball.
Well, panning out. We're going to change as well the way the pause is going because we are about ready to get onto the rift. Let's open it up. We will fly through in our magical journey now to see if TSM will be able to take this game point, or if Counter Logic Gaming will keep their semifinal series hopes alive.
Yeah, and throughout this series, I also have to credit Doublelift and Biofrost in their laning phase. They've been put up against Afromu's Karma on a couple occasions, and even his Soraka. They did suffer that death early on, but their CS has been strong. They're not getting completely pressured out. And yes, Braum is one of the better melee supports to lane against range, but this is something that CLG was able to push in and win by double-digit CS against most international mid lanes, and they haven't been able to do it against Double and Biofrost.
Huzzah!
Hey, Gangplank's getting gold from this. He's got the mastery. So Hansel the one with the last laugh here.
20 gold advantage right now.
Ting!
Man.
Outsmarted.
Cleans off the gun. Let's get back and do it again.
Baited.
So the line of scrimmage is set after a few love taps from mid and the top lane. Just figuring out what's going on and who's got the aggression. Looks like we're going to be obviously back to standard lanes, but the question is, why do CLG put themselves in that early game have to come out on top team with this captain?
Got to change something,
Okay.
right? He was pretty successful in lane as the Cinder. They've been reaching the mid and late game, and they've been getting outmaneuvered. TSM already brought more global pressure and late game scaling with the Gangplank picked early. Even the Sivir pick has tremendous late game. So CLG, their option was, let's do pick comp, double assassin, and try and snowball these guys down.
By the way, that we kind of breezed over the mastery pick there from Hanser, but it's very common for Gangplanks because of parlay to get the on hits for melee champions gold, which is normally a support mastery, but for Gangplank it works really well in lane for trading because you can use your parlay on the enemy champion and you get gold plus harass that way rather than parlaying the minions, which causes you to lose out more lane control.
Really just a frugal build, if you will. Keeping himself financially stable in the early. First is going to be an Ocean Drake. You may see that go to the wayside for a bit here. It happened last game. The Drake was taken much later, as CLG likes to get this, as they say, lane swap 2.0 on and really start to mix things up early. Might not be an option with this setup.
And this is what we're watching, right? The Lissandra early shove onto Huhi on the Kassadin. Yeah, Kassadin is going to get shoved in on most matchups, but it's about how he last hits under pressure and how many auto attacks from Bjergsen he does take. Bjergsen did a pretty good trade previously where we saw him go in for, after the Q lands, get the extra auto for the Thunderlord's trigger, get some extra health down. Good job there again. He waits for the shield to fall off, then goes in for another triple hit after Thunderlord's cooldown comes back up. So Bjergsen's playing this pretty well and punishing him.
Until the team arrives in the mid lane.
Hey,
what is this?
Hey, you bully!
Yeah.
Get off of Huhi!
Oh, the only thing that's missing really is Morgana. They have the Karma. Is the follow-up there. Smithy holds the flash correctly.
I mean, they
all pulled off.
That plays a team.
They shoved the duo lane pretty far out, so they're not missing too much CS for that roam.
It seems so great. They all were just like, nah.
Team game, man. 5 mid.
Oh,
jeez. All right, well, yeah, man, you said they have to switch something up. They have to try some new strategies here.
Roll the die in mid. Why not?
They got his flash. We'll see if they can capitalize on it. You know, otherwise, those, while it is only a couple minions bottom, missing a couple melee.
Yeah.
This is a big deal for the duo here.
It's trading a few minions bot for a few minions mid, and Huhi was really going to be in a struggling situation. Now he's got his Dark Seal and some boots, maybe dodge a few more skill shots. His potions are more efficient. Hopefully they can get Huhi to that point of power before Bjergsen can take over the game.
This is what I was talking about. Echo has kill pressure on Gangplank. They bring the jungler up early. Good thing about Hanser that Hanser had previously placed his ward there, so he's able to see that gank. But not much he can do about this. Lane is pushing away from him, and the threat of the Gragas is definitely still there, so you kind of have to call your own jungler just to throw a Prey Seeker in there or something, just to check and ensure that you can push this wave up. That's what Sven is doing. They're not looking for any sort of gank kill here. They just want to allow Hanser to shove this lane into turret so he doesn't get frozen upon.
Yeah, the little fights Darshan is taking are in those minions, so it's almost like Hanser is forced to push the wave just to trade back with barrels, giving Darshan that little edge. Now he has a nice wave for himself. Bot lane getting pushed in as well. Should be easily cleared up by Stixay and a grenade. Whoa, face check.
Nicely done, though. He's delaying the recall of Sven Skaren.
Who's winning in our game of recall interruptions? I can't keep track. Bottom lane and top lane have been constant.
Just toying with danger. Darshan looks like he's having a pretty good early game, matched up evenly with Hanser. As this bot lane is 47-38. Both mid and bot down a few CS because of that roam previously. Who he has seemed to catch up.
Yeah, you can tell Smithy wants to try and gank the mid lane with the flash down, but if Bjergsen's being very conservative with his E, it's still going to be really tricky to secure any type of kill.
Yeah, it has to be Smithy interrupting the claw by either getting the body slam on Bjergsen during the last couple seconds of it so he can't reactivate it, or getting in between him and his base. Huhi is level 6 right now.
Yeah, the blam damage. You can call it that.
Yeah, you could call it that. I like it.
Bjergsen He had to hit it. Level 5 there doesn't have the ability to make himself invulnerable, and he's got to play it safe now.
Yeah, if Fuhi shifts forward again, he'd be in danger of a Svenskeren gank on Rek'Sai. Everyone on CLG, at least the solo lanes, are playing really aggressively and would be vulnerable to Svenskeren ganks, but I think that has to do with their mindset of trying to take over this game early.
Yeah, the mindset as well as the matchups that they've drafted into. The onus is on them. They have to be the proactive ones. They have to create with these choices with the double assassins and the Jhin bottom lane. If they let TSM just farm up, that's exactly what TSM want. You know, Haunter on Gangplank is going to farm up, try and get all that bonus gold. Sivir, once she gets her core items, is a monster, and they can have a repeat of last game where they can, you know, group up, control all neutral objectives, and have the extra team fight superiority. So TSM, they need to cut them off and not let them have access to that early gold.
It's always scary to fight against TSM, especially when they get early gold in the early game. But even if you make the 45-minute mark at an even pace, that's when TSM's fights are ridiculous. They strategize so well, they enter the fight well, and we've seen a lot of past seasons come into TSM's favor. I should say games in past seasons because of those 45-minute TSM fights are so powerful. So it's almost like you're playing in a danger zone the entire time against these guys.
Interesting how CLG just keep up this top lane focus, even though they keep giving away the Gangplank and Haunter keeps outplaying and keeps, you know, clearing minion waves, gaining advantage on the other side of the map by avoiding death top side. CLG continue to focus on it and try and pressure him. Ooh.
All right. Good trade
Enough
back.
damage off. Low cooldown on Lissandra Q.
Where are you going?
Just back a little bit. Drink some potions. I'll be right back, man.
Over here.
Yeah, I got your cooldown out. All right, honestly though, Bjergsen's ultimate being down is, you know, worth keeping track of for CLG. Look at those deep wards though that TSM have gotten, so they're gonna see this move from CLG as they try and collapse and defend the Drac. Crazy.
I wonder how this is going to be for Huhi when he becomes a priority target without cleanse, as well against Bjergsen. As he tries to jump in and assassinate, things are going to get tough.
It's really tough, especially if they get to the mid to late game team fights. It's more about, can Huhi make an impact chasing people around the map? Can CLG create long type of fights?
Keep him running.
Yeah, Huhi needs the threat of Stixxay's ult behind him. If there's a Kassadin running at you with Jhin bullets firing right behind, then it's extremely scary. And you kind of are forced into the I have to run rather than stand and fight the assassin, which is where you want to be. And in order to do that, they need lane pressure somewhere. Ooh, interesting setup here. Aframu should be able to leave though.
The guessing game now.
Complete.
Yeah, once again, the laning phase is actually going over to TSM. The duo lane is winning. I feel like CLG with Stixxay and Aframu kind of gave it to him when they decided to roam mid at level 2. Haunter in the top lane, despite a lot of presence by Xmithy early, has been able to farm out on Gangplank. Very impressive once again.
Flash is still back up. See, now the thing is, oh, he saw the ward being placed, so he knows Smithy's there. But previously to that, Huhi has set this precedent that I'm going to go aggressive on you on Kassadin and trade constantly, making Bjergsen guess whether the jungler is there or not, because Huhi has been doing it regardless whether Smithy is there or not. And you kind of play that mind game of, when do I call his bluff? You know, is the jungler here this time? He continues to trade aggressively into me.
Yeah.
Well, he shows those aggressive shades through his buys. Bjergsen continues to go with that Negatron cloak as a purchase, while Huhi always wants that damage first, no matter what he's playing. And he'll forgo that kind of Abyssal Scepter in the early part. Trying to get those kills.
Oh, here comes Stixxay. He's moving up with his Jhin as well.
Locked him down. Biofrost gets a very nice Glacial Fissure out. Spreads the distance. Huhi gets locked in. Void Rush coming out. Safety from Svenskeren now as he enters the fight, and Bjergsen is bounced around from Xmithy. Doesn't look like anybody's going to go down in this one, but it's definitely a test of the power right now.
Yeah, that was a good move there from Double Lift. He moved up to auto-attack Stixxay to force Stixxay to close up shop there on the ultimate and not fire any further bolts after Biofrost. So Huhi had to give up on that chase, and they disengage. I think they come out a little bit ahead in Summoners as Bioburn broke, so yeah.
And if TSM extends this laning phase and continues to gain what is 1,000 gold already, it's going to be pretty good for them. So Double Lift just kind of moving up, preventing the invade from working. It did cost both Summoners from Biofrost, but ultimately it seems to be pretty okay for TSM as of now.
Looking looking to play it slow. Doesn't seem like Bjergsen's really got too much aggression onto Huhi in the mid lane. They did try to aggress with Stixxay, practically the whole team on Bjergsen. We haven't seen anything like that as of sort, so maybe CLG just had kind of a one-off ready in the early game.
Looking to pressure that Kassadin turret for the first turret gold here and punish Kassadin's lack of a wave clear.
And Svenskaren's even keeping Xsmithy away, so he won't be able to assist with the next wave. I love that roam there by TSM. Very smart, adapting to a different pick in the mid lane. As opposed to doing the quick swap up top, we actually see the swap down mid.
Jin's not a very quick turret taker himself, so no real turret damage given up on the bottom side there by TSM. And, you know, I said the onus was on CLG to create early action and, you know, make some proactive moves. They have tried a little bit in the mid lane, got a flash down, and Hui's been trading aggressively, but no real headway gained here on any area of the map for Counter Logic Gaming, as Darshan doesn't have a CS lead himself either, and the TSM are very happy with the calm pace of the early game.
The hope maybe is that these teleports can come into play, but you have to consider it's matched by TSM this game as well, as mid laners have both brought the teleport, not just the top laners. Things very conditional here for CLG and how they can approach this game. Looks like they're the safe one right now. It's the door they're choosing.
Yeah, and with Drake still being up, it's an Ocean Drake right now. The teams don't seem to be putting a huge priority on it. It is TSM putting the pressure on, just committing to this first turret, and looks like they're going to be able to get it. But will CLG match with the fight is the question, and the threat of that fight is what's keeping TSM off of it.
What you need to do in this situation is use your weakness to your advantage. You can use first turret gold as bait sometimes. And yes, it is super risky and you don't want to be in that position, but CLG's mid turret is about to go down, and what you need to do there is try and use TSM's focus on that objective against them and try and set something up, because if you break the game open there using mid turret as bait and try and get a collapse, and hey, you've got Jhin ultimate, you've got some flat armor penetration, even though it's just the serrated Dirk right now, you know, and cast it and chase down, that could be a way for them to, you know, really ignite this confidence in their favor. TSM don't overcommit though. Intelligent there. They just take these quick roams and don't stick around.
Because they know if they don't get overcommitted on, they will eventually get that mid lane turret. Or they can get a side lane turret if CLG overcommit in the defense of the mid. The only other thing that could happen is if Darshan could continue to push Enhancer. But with the Gangplank getting higher and higher levels, I do feel like that's highly unlikely.
And look at Hanser too. He's literally sitting at his turret, waiting for the minion wave to come to him. Then he just CS's under his turret, and he's just fine doing that. He can consistently clear this without putting himself in real danger. And there's not really a threat there. He's actually winning in CS because Darshan's missing a couple while trying to shove.
Both AD carries now backing with around 2,000 gold after being in lane. You could almost tell how long they'd been out as everybody's just backing to switch out those sweepers. It had been a few levels back and forth. So lots of money to spend, lots of unknown power here to come out if there isn't engage once these items are finished, and a little bit of rough housing in the top lane from Svenskeren and Darshan. He knows he's safe, so he's just giving him a hell of a time.
Yeah, but they defend
Finally
top and now they can get mid.
There it is. Whoa! That's the fight play. As soon as it goes down, Biofrost trying to be a meat shield. Glacial Fisher goes down, he flashes out, and Doublet's already made the distance of Curtain Call. How? What a play there by TSM to avoid the death.
That is the exact play I was talking about for CLG, and TSM avoid it. They get the turret, and they get out afterwards, scot-free. Very big win for them, and that is kind of heartbreaking for CLG. Darshan now under fire.
Trinity Force completed for Hanser, and he's really quick. He's going to try and chase Darshan down for a while here.
Doesn't have too many barrels left. Into the artillery. Looks like he's going back.
Oh, City's trying to get Baron. Hanser could Gangplank ult. This is dangerous for CLG.
Whoa, Biofrost jumps in as he's already low. That's going to be a kill and a dragon going over to his Smithy as he says, see you later. If everybody can make it out, we are well off on this one. And it looks like Biofrost may just stay. Goes for the slow, but still flashes out to save himself. They're throwing time for Stixxay. And he gets taken down as he tries to come in on the backside.
I think that was a play born of desperation from CLG. They wanted to re-engage that to try and get some kills back for them right now, because they feel the game slipping away from them. They wanted to re-engage with Stixay and Hui at the same time to take down Bjergsen, but Bjergsen plays it calm, gets the stand-up counter kill, and TSM, even though they give away that Drake and a kill, in the end, they still have map control. They're still shoving up.
Yeah, I feel like Biofrost was a little ambitious, giving away First Blood, but then because TSM had the accumulated advantage, they were able to convert on the very dangerous situation CLG had put themselves in. Gonna watch this one more time, and like we said, Biofrost was already low, and he kind of just hopped in to help out Svenskeren before instantly dying. Then the continuation of this play is something where Aframu was most likely dead, but CLG was hoping they could pull off some kind of flank onto Bjergsen here.
Yeah, Aframu did have flash still, so he probably could have got away. It felt like CLG wanted to re-engage on Bjergsen, but they didn't respect the flash there.
Yeah.
And Bjergsen, you know, quick thinking there, boom, gets the counter kill. TSM don't stop.
And this is also what we were worried about for as far as CLG is concerned from the draft phase. Unless they are threatening TSM with kills, the waves are just going to collapse onto CLG's turrets. And 2 turrets to 0 right now, plus the ward coverage in the jungle. Haunts are looking stronger every single wave. Everything pushing for TSM, and very few things CLG can do to get back outside of Brawl, where they're already down.
It seems like this, the way they played in the first game with the early and Soul in, where they were just on the bottom turret immediately, on the top turret immediately, trying to create pressure, is where they needed to help Hui and get Hui. He still hasn't gone down, has been able to absorb all the necessary experience here up to 17 and a half minutes in. So a few kills can really catapult him to where he needs to be a side lane bully here, along with Darshan. 166 to 142 in that matchup, not too bad, but Haunter's got some completed items already and is ready to go back for more.
Yeah, pretty insane how well he's been able to farm so far. Already gained 500 gold from just his parlay. Oh my goodness!
Absolutely demolished.
Yeah, if it wasn't looking bad for CLG before, it definitely is now. The Proto Belt Lysandra right there. Bjergsen just demolishes the duo lane of CLG with the help from Svenskeren, and TSM is going to look to continue to push.
Yeah, TSM have worked this whole split in preparation for this. Let's see if Darshan can get one back here. He's trying to make him down double.
There's not even a turret out here. Mid lane's already down, and TSM is running around the mid lane after losing a few. Gonna get back into that one. They just fought. I was a little worried about that because Bjergsen just used his ultimate, but they just get out. They're all right. They lose double lift.
Yeah, they get something back on the other side.
That's what CLG needs to identify, though. That's the play they need to go hard on.
You're going to watch the Stixay Aframu pick off here. Oh, Stixay can't quite flash in time as Bjergsen's ultimate is already pre-casting by the time he flashes.
And look at the fog of war during that play as well. TSM have so much control because they've still got all their turrets up and they've been winning the vision wars.
Yeah.
So you know, very dangerous there for the Jhin and Karma. Darshan though, you know, he gets that kill on the double lift and he gets some turret gold for themselves up top. It's just so many steps for CLG to get back into this game, and that's just the first one down that path.
20 minutes in now. TSM doing a great job at holding the outer line. This is very reminiscent of TSM of old, being able to keep their turrets up for a very long time. Just denying a team gold that way, as well as being able to slightly win their lanes. It's a lot of small things that pile up into that snowball that allow TSM to continue aggressive engages like such. Where they lost double lift last time. But that's exactly where CLG can get back into this one. He wasn't actually able to participate coming into that play, but the rest of the team was getting a little bit on.
Yeah, it's just so difficult right now for CLG. They just have to hard commit everyone to one side of the map if they want to catch anyone. Because Sivir's so fast, Lysandra can self-ult and claw away, and Gangplank's been extremely slippery, plus just playing cautiously. So CLG, they just have to, you know, 5-man commit to somewhere, try and get the Jhin ult and cast it and chase down. Otherwise, TSM win this game slowly.
And the trickiest part of that is even if CLG does 5-man commit, and let's say they kill 3 people, let's say they get the perfect collapse on 3 people on TSM, they still might lose that trade because the other 2 lanes would continue to push, most likely take a turret, and it could still be gold positive for TSM. So really, CLG has to pull out something extremely creative.
Well, they said there was a lot of that faith. It's kind of renewed for Hui. Can continuously keep him kind of concentrated on the game. They put a cast in his hands here coming into a possible elimination game for that test, or that contest for their title. Huhi now the focus. Gonna be able to get out a little bit, but only gonna be more assists going over to TSM. Smithy tries to help him out in the I think I can situation, and he is right. He can. He doesn't go down himself. But they can't be going down like this across the board if they want to produce results.
Yeah, and TSM knows how vulnerable CLG is right now, and they are not relenting their pressure. Bjergsen at 4-0 continues to get picks. It's also timed with the respawn of the Drake, so they can just go right back and get it. All their waves are shoving. All of CLG is lost for what to do, and TSM can only extend their lead and get closer to the finals.
Yep, they're working towards that changing of the guard. CLG have had the last 2 championships in the North American LCS. But if TSM defeat them here, they will have one of our previous champions as Cloud9 await them in the finals.
It's pretty incredible. There have been 3 teams that have found consistent playoff success. CLG has 2 titles. C9 has 2 titles. TSM has 3. C9 already waiting for the winner of this match in the finals. So TSM hoping to get their 4th split title.
And there's something to be said about the strengths of all 3 of those organizations behind the players as well, because the players have changed, yet these teams are ones that stay at the top of the table in the NALCS. We've seen changes not be able to not help teams, and they continue to fall. But now these guys are still at the top. 22:30 on the clock, 4-2 here as TSM slowly working their advantage. And they realize that CLG knows they're behind. They could, both teams feel this in the game, so they're very wary of what CLG could try to produce here. But no, they still have to push the aggression inside the TSM.
Know that they still have to play smart.
Yep.
They can set up the plays. They have double teleport as well as every lane pretty much winning right now. So it's about deep wards. It's about waiting for CLG to collapse and punishing the other side, or just creating their own advantages. Spenskaran just taking away the jungle that's Smithy now, and even dueling Darshan. Doesn't care.
And comes away at max health, able to regen with the passive right after. And it's, you know, the good life for TSM right now. Up 2-0 in the series, huge lead in this game, plus they have stronger comp for the late game. Full vision control, all the options are open to them as they prepare to head to Toronto. I was told actually by a tweet, it's pronounced Toronto with no T.
Oh.
Yeah. Today I learned.
Toronto?
Maybe someone else.
Chat?
You're Canadian. How is it?
Canada's
is it
first
Toronto?
son? What's the answer?
I think
Or is that
I've
just
said
people who-
Toronto a lot, but I think enough people say Toronto that I just kind of zone it out.
Is it just the colloquial, or is it
Toronto.
Okay.
I think that's how you say it. You're putting my credibility on the line.
Come on,
right now.
Canadian! How long?
I
You've
think-
been in the U.S. for too long.
I think you'll be all right. They're nice people. They're not going to boo you out if you say it wrong. 25 minutes coming up on the clock here, and TSM continue to grow their lead. Haunter now being a menace to Darshan, pretty much can't match up with him too strong on the outside.
Yeah.
And Huhi trying to keep up in CS with Bjergsen. The Minions will keep pushing back towards CLG here as TSM has these outer turrets, but that's the scary part, is that CLG can't even start to farm that without being pressured by TSM.
Yeah, CLG shouldn't be too disheartened either, even though they are looking like they'll probably lose this, because they have the most championship points. They won Spring Split. They have a very good chance. If they can win 3rd place, even in the 3rd place match, if it comes to that, then they will be able to go to Worlds qualifying on championship points.
This might not be the time to tell CLG fans that like TSM.
Yeah, just kidding. What's actually going to happen is even if CLG finishes 3rd or 4th, if TSM wins the split, CLG will have the most points.
Right.
But if I'm not 100% sure on the 3rd place, 2nd place scenario, so a lot of stuff that will be explained a little bit later.
One of the fights to come in, buying time for himself, and the first bit of action really we've seen in the past 5-10 minutes as TSM look to work top on Huhi.
Yeah, really, everyone's just thinking right now, what's going to be that little interaction
What
that
breaks it open?
that sparks the big fight,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. What's going to be the one that, you know, provokes CLG to actually go for that kind of desperation play to get back in this game? Is it going to be a fight over a pink ward? What will they actually commit to here? Because they've got they've got, you know, they can bide their time and make their choice carefully because they will probably only get one choice at it.
Yeah, one chance. I think it's going to be around Baron, but it's slow going just because TSM doesn't have an incredibly fast Baron taking team.
Whoop, that's not it. It isn't.
He didn't make it out.
Practically 2v1ing to start this one off. Bjergsen bites off a little more than he can chew and calls for Sven.
No
Garrett.
ults.
Nice shots from Stixay, and Bjergsen
How
thinks
many can
he's
they get?
safe. He used the flash there and goes down. Sven Garrett getting tied up now. A nice ultimate coming in from Hanser kind of deters CLG. They have to pull back with low HP amongst many members. But they get a nice kill. They get a bit of an opening. Where can they go with it?
Well, they're trying to get more.
That's Biofrost locked up. A few more hits. Darshan could be in and out with Huhi. The shot's a 6-8, but the shield is there from Aphromu's Mantra Shield. And Darshan is now trying to get Sven Skaren and the rest of the team to focus him, but nobody can deliver enough
Monster's
damage
coming.
to get the kill.
GP trying to flank up the side. Double lift corralling CLG back to their base. That fight was a little bit odd because Bjergsen could have saved himself if he just self-ulted that last shot. Maybe he was playing a bit of a mind game. Even with all of that, TSM got a turret off the back.
Weird mind game to play.
Yeah, he's not going to fire the last bullet. Ah, he did. Whoops.
But I mean, if you look at the cost-benefit analysis of that particular game.
I wonder if he self-ults, if even after he gets the heal, if the fourth shot still would have been enough to kill him. Because the curtain call has a really long time where he can hold it. I think he should have self-ulted. Or you can just ult while it's in the air. That works too. Let's call it a mistake.
Is there any reason why it was on cool? Were you sure he had it up?
98%.
Oh.
I'm as
So
sure
you're saying there's a chance.
I'm as sure as the name is the pronunciation of Toronto.
All right, so it probably was enough. Here we are, the curtain call goes down. Stixay is looking for some actors. It looks like he'll find Hanser on the backside. Good showing. Nothing comes of it, however, and it looks like this scene breaks apart for now. That's an all down for Stixay, so they have to realize they can really be jumped on here. Aphromu's the safety provided for him, but they don't continue to engage in this fight.
Hanser's joining the team now with all of his money. So
Yeah.
it's very, very powerful.
Once that rich boy Hanser comes over here with
It's 12,500 gold.
the 3 items completed, CLG also don't have Jhin ult, so they don't really have many options. And they try and go for the steal with the Deadly Flourish, but not going to be the case, and TSM can back off with their winnings.
Yeah, only 1 kill advantage, but 8,000 gold lead for TSM. You can tell they've had control of the map for most of this game. Killing a lot of turrets.
All right, TSM CLG actually pushing up the mid lane there to try and gain a little bit of position. Now they're going for the engage onto Hanser.
Pressuring it hard. Farsight Orb went just down behind CLG, so TSM has seen all the members here to fight. They're walking by that ward once again, and they give themselves some secrecy. Looks like for their troubles, they get a push, and Stixay's still there in the mid lane. We'll see if they can finally break open this mid turret, but it looks like it won't be enough time. So fun. Bjergsen on Lissandra, double lift on Sivir. One of them could be there, and they clear the wave. Both of them there, and you have no chance to take a turret. So CLG keeps coming up empty-handed, even with a bit of an advantage here.
Yeah.
So we also know it's not over till it's over. CLG have been able to manufacture plays in the past. They're going to need a lot of them, though. They need to win this game and then 2 more if they want to try and maintain their championship streak.
The CLG comeback factory needs all your faith right now because this is going to be a doozy.
Are you doubting them right now, Kobe?
I'm not. Never.
Never doubting them.
Maybe a little bit.
So you're saying doozy? Doozy doesn't equal doubt? We'll see. It is definitely going to be tough, but the faith remains, as you said, Kobe. A lot of the fans are still there, and CLG believes it too. We've seen it come down to some crazy, crazy all-out fights that have left Stixay and the support up.
Yeah.
That have left a few other members up just to come out on top and win the game. So CLG knows what it takes here in these late game fights. But like I said, it becomes a danger zone always when you're playing against TSM. Very, very scary is how powerful they are at this point in time.
Yeah, stalled out a little bit, but we were kind of expecting this because of the no Mountain Drake spawning and TSM not having the fastest Baron taking team. Because, once again, they're in a team competition with Sivir. Their siege isn't necessarily that great, but if they can catch CLG in the open, they can run them down and crush them with their gold advantage and overall team fighting.
Hanser pushing the bottom lane up as well. All the side lanes are always in favor of TSM, and that allows them to have this vision control to remove options for CLG, because CLG have to have that 5-man guerrilla warfare squad where they run at you from fog of war and then try and pick someone off and then try and chain that into extra chase down kills with Cassidy and Jin. With TSM playing so safe, you know, disengaging constantly, then shoving up waves, it really removes so many of those options, because not only do the wards inside the jungle help TSM be alerted to CLG's plays, but also the minions moving up the mid lane, up the side lane, serve as vision themselves. Every time you push up the minions, those gain vision of CLG members as well, who are, you know, forced to go clear them out.
Darshan only getting so much room until Hanser enters the lane. Definitely a growth for Hanser as well, from what we saw in his time on Gravity to now his time on Team SoloMid, creating his own opportunities, as well with the confidence of the rest of the team, makes a lot of this basically unstoppable at times. Yeah. TSM taking a few love taps here, but obviously not deterred from an initial push now in this lane.
Pretty lackluster ultimate there from Stixxay. You can see with his item build, he's not optimizing for the armor penetration. He went for a rapid fire cannon instead of what you'd expect of a Maw from other Jins who are really trying to get that armor penetration. I would have actually preferred the Maw, especially because he's dealing with Lissandra, but maybe he's just hoping to get that one long-range shot into the picks that CLG is hoping for. Yeah,
I feel like CLG do have to go full offensive mentality. Try and get, you know, the possibility of picking somebody off. But it is a low possibility, and they haven't found it here as TSM consistent disengages. That's why we keep building up this story. Of course, everything's going according to plan for TSM if they can just keep it slow like this. Look at the gold lead has been ballooning over the last 10 minutes. 20 minutes, actually. Even.
It's a 3,000 gold lead now for Hanser. He has just been free farming. He's got 2 of his 3 cannon barrage upgrades already, I believe. Well, it's a bunch of gold.
TSM looking for a pick of their own.
Aphromoo has to get away from the team, locking up the Iron Solari on himself, but they are able to turn around. Hanser is pulled back. They said too far. Fight as five. Who he's coming from the back, and now Aphromoo keeps himself safe as he tethers in Svenskeren. They can't join the fight against Huhi, but he won't last long anyways. And like you said, Darshan out of this fight. Looks like he's teleport not in. And now down, he has to walk all the way upriver to help the team and stop that split push they've been trying to get going.
Yeah, Hanser, it looked like he could have chased down Afro for the kill, but you can see the dedication of TSM to their shot calling, right? You know, as soon as Darshan shows up, they go, everyone focus him now. They turn around, they even let him walk away. Here goes the Baron. Initiation, though, from TSM.
They don't kill it that fast, so it is a little bit dicey here.
Well, Frost, stand behind me, everyone, as they scatter left and right trying to dodge themselves. They do have to give up Baron. The pressure is too great from CLG. And it looks like the mid lane will still be defended.
Yeah, CLG live to continue the fight. Infernal Drake will be up soon. TSM is a little bit low right now, so I'm thinking CLG might try and rush this Infernal Drake for a bit of a chance. It's a little bit desperate here because Bjergsen can teleport in, and that's what's going to happen.
10,000 gold down. I think TSM would be happy to take this fight now, actually.
Even with the health bars not being full.
Well, Convergence is in. They're just trying to throw that pocket sand. Sifa says. You can get it in their eyes. But it doesn't work. They blow it right away. Goggles, they do work this time. And TSM is coming out on top, left and right on this third game here. Really not giving CLG any room to work with. CS leads in just about every lane, and it's been an incredible season for TSM being able to do this to the majority of the teams they played against. Not flawless though, letting themselves get trapped, being taken down by Phoenix 1 throughout the split as
legendary
well. So
Inori game.
they aren't flawless. There's something teams can take
series, right?
Yeah.
That's the most surprising thing. It wasn't just a stray game that TSM gave away. It was the best of 3 series. Phoenix 1 were able to take 2 and
it is crazy to think that if not for that Phoenix 1 series, TSM could have been the first undefeated North American team in the split. because they tied Immortals at 17.
They're about to head to the finals, and you guys got a nitpick on the one thing. Are you a TSM fan, chat? You're supposed to block that one out of your mind.
I'm a non-biased caster, Kobe.
Yeah, same. Honestly, though, especially for us to have known all of the players for so long, it's just really fun to see any of them succeed. Because all of the players on all these teams who've been playing for so long want it so much. You can hear it in all the videos that they do. Everybody's got their eyes on the championship, right? It's so emotional for all of these players.
And you heard what Darshan said, what it means to play in that third place match. He does not want to play in that third place match. He is going to try to have a say about it. He can get his, that's the Guardian Angel. He still has the Chrono Break. If he slams it when he comes up, he's holding on to it for now. Tries to take more damage and get himself back to get a slight heal. And they do keep themselves alive. He has gone down with double lift, so DPS down on both sides. Stops the fight, and CLG holds the front end of the base.
Ooh, man, what a crucial hold there for CLG. Smithy, Gragas ultimate on double lift, gets him to the team, but they're not done.
Oh no, Smithy.
Smithy, I'm sorry, we were cast a curse talking about him.
It was a crucial hold until they thought TSM had backed away. The 1-for-1 at that stage of the game, so difficult to accomplish, but now with 3 people down, looks like TSM's gonna get that bear.
This was a hold until it wasn't.
This far in the game, that far down in gold, you have to expect you don't own anything on the map. And they are always going to be in that next brush, right next to you. This is the chance this time around, and TSM are gonna walk away with Baron after those 3 kills.
Yeah, pretty good for a CLG here as TSM's pushing up for the turret. Jhin opens up. Specifically though, being able to get double lift really low before you even cast him into the team.
Duskblade proc.
And then Duskblade ruins his life there. But instead of just going back to base, healing up, Smithy's like, I think TSM is gone, but they are definitely not. Bjergsen had swept. Easy kill there for TSM.
And Stixay goes to try and help him out, but no exit path available for him.
But that's the rate that CLG has to play at, right? I think we have a second. I need to get higher levels. I need more resources. Smithy tries to go into the jungle immediately, hoping that that wasn't the case. They're really being pressured in to make some moves that they may not want to make here. And TSM has been able to kind of work off that throughout every team they played against this season. Create those errors that they can play against. Very good position to be sitting in. Fighting outside the base, or at least trying to taunt a little bit here. CLG is going to go ahead and clear some very bold rewards as turrets are getting taken down.
See Hanser with a lot of items already. Able to chunk a Huhi. No Infinity Edge though, so he doesn't get the one shot onto Huhi. CLG would basically have to engage on this if they want to save this game. They're going to try and poke down as much as possible. This is really tough. TSM so close. Punching their ticket to the finals to get another final against Cloud9.
It has been an arduous journey for TSM back to the top of the North American L. Oh, here we go.
Bjergsen knocked back, but TSM is actually piled onto a great group that will be able to fight back. Darshan comes back up as well. He's going to get knocked once or twice. Hanser trying to stay on the side and keep everybody at bay. They find Darshan, Smithy, and Huhi share about 1,000 health apiece and have to head back. And now it does not look good as the base starts to fall, and TSM is starting to do what many thought would occur here in a 3-0 against Counterlogic Gaming. Oh, got a block!
So much discipline from TSM in the way they're disengaging and not overcommitting this fight, but Huhi desperately trying to chase.
Yeah, be careful though. CLG actually don't have enough members to really threaten that 4-man squad as TSM able to disengage and get right back to base. All right, here it is again. CG, they try and make their move as the turret is going down. TSM are so far ahead though. Zoning with the Gangplank ultimate, then they re-engage and focus on Darshan here as Bjergsen gets the double root on Huhi and Darshan.
Yeah, and then the self-ult too. Even after Bjergsen got Gragas ulted into the team, he knew he wasn't under immediate threat, so he saved his ultimate for that crucial moment in the team fight.
Everything becomes crucial now for Counterlogic Gaming. Hanging on by a thread. Huhi tries to put a little bit of damage on. Soften up what they can of TSM before they make it in the base, but they're almost trading more than it's worth every time they go in. Just a few shots from Doublelift, and Darshan can't step any closer here. And the turret slowly being whittled down. CLG may make a move as it falls. And the paralock convergence is not worked on right now. CLG is looking for the perfect entry.
TSM's just all grouped up because they know how strong they are. Won't let CLG get a flank on them.
See if they can make the entry. Biofrost protects Doublelift beautifully on the back line. They throw the ultimate onto Jin. And the global ults really make it hard for someone like him to stay still, throw down his ultimate, and they can't provide that defense they require.
Yep, it's a very clear game plan for TSM this game. This is not a flashy win. This is a comp win. Yes, we know CLG have to take risks, and they're obviously showing their hand, trying to take a bunch of those risks. And TSM, they play conservatively, they bide their time, and they cash in.
Like
10
you said,
kills now.
they have the deed to this land. They continue to move their borders up farther and farther, and Xmithy finds that out every time he tries to farm something.
But it is impressive the way that TSM is winning these games. They're
Absolutely.
identifying the win conditions and then just tunneling in and doing exactly that thing. Here, they knew if it goes late, they're going to be able to outfarm the lanes and have a massive advantage by the time the game is over. Well, it's not quite over, but that's a 18,000 gold lead. An Elder Drake with 3 stacks, 2 inhibitors down, and maybe the final push to send them into finals.
It's going to be the final inhibitor, that's for sure. It doesn't mean CLG cannot protect it. Darshan up towards that top lane, trying to keep the wave as small as possible so they have time to focus on the bottom. The turrets are falling like they're made of butter right now. In the favorite team, SoloMid.
Why did we get butter turret?
I have no idea. That's how you get it with 3 Drakes and the Elder on top of that. Not even one of them is a mountain. And they're slicing right through him. This could be the final go. Darshan and the rest of the team are going to try to go for broke. His Guardian Angel gets popped as the Glacial Tomb with the safety from Erickson. And he did. 60 seconds on the clock. That means TSM is fighting 4v5 with the Fountain just on the heels of CLG for HP. That's who he going down now. Aframu's going to be the next one to fall as they can't break enough ground between them and TSM to get the heals from the Fountain. And it's now going to be Senskaran taking up so the team can go under the turret. Darshan firing back with Xmithy, and they're able to slow the attack, but not stop the attack. The Nexus turrets fall at the same time. The focus is on the Nexus, and TSM will not be stopped as they take a 3-0 game. Xmithy again, like Darshan says, walk this way, away from the Nexus, but TSM will take it. They will head to Toronto, and they will challenge C9 for the finals of the NALCS Summer Split.
And this is vindication for TSM after suffering the defeat to CLG in the finals in Las Vegas a few months ago. And that has got to feel good because it wasn't just a victory, it was a 3-0 victory.
Hard work paying off for Team SoloMid.
And also because of the win and their second place finish in spring, we don't know if they'll be the #1 seed yet, but TSM is definitely going to Worlds.
Absolutely, another team locked in. It's been happening all around the world, and it's amazing to see that list continue to be created. And now TSM, with their strongest split, locks themselves in.
You guys are getting me excited for Worlds again already. Every time I get hope for North America. Super amped up heading into Worlds.
Yeah, and we still have the NA Finals is the thing right here, and the road is so much different than last split. TSM entered as the 6th seed in the spring. Now they are the #1 seed, prohibitive favorites, and no reason to think they aren't the strong favorites against Cloud9.
And honestly, the reason why I have more hope going into Worlds this year than any previous North American year heading into Worlds is because of the extra focus of the North American teams on the macro play and the mental fortitude. Teams have been specifically hiring staff members to train them in the anti-tilt, basically, what everyone's been calling it. But it really has shown, and it really has helped these teams in these long best-of-5s.
Looking at these games as well, and can't pass it up, a very unfortunate situation for Counter Logic Gaming and the Aurelion Soul removal throughout this series. And this was something as well, as Bjergsen said the first time, that they were ready to allow that to play through if it weren't to happen again, because they knew also what that meant to Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate situation, but I also think that TSM beyond that first game with the Aurelion Sol out, had 3 fairly convincing victories.
Completely dominating.
It sucks anytime we have to have something like that happen, but TSM definitely deserved their victory here. They played really well.
Coming out very strong. We also saw the kind of progression that Chronologic Gaming was talking about and how they had fixed that behind-the-scenes things, and they were able to focus on the game. And we saw that coming out a little bit in the early game pressure where they were all over TSM, but it just seems TSM, obviously, they're like, oh, yeah, we get back into this role, and they just can't be stopped.
Now, obviously, CLG doesn't want to play in the 3rd place match, but just because they lose to TSM, who has been dominating everyone, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad team. So I'm really looking forward to the 3rd place match in Toronto and also towards Worlds, because we're not sure exactly who's going to be going. And TSM, C9, like, it's all going to be on the line.
I'm excited. Obviously, we've seen a lot of changes and the teams adapt here coming towards the split. TSM, this split. As I said before, the teams coming in with changes have just been able to catapult themselves back to success. And I can't wait to see what that power does for the other teams as P1, who actually learned to beat the best team in the league throughout that learning process. So what happens next split, baby?
Gotta bring it up again.
What are we gonna get? Oh, stop it. For now, the scoop on this rivalry series. Let's check in with Zyrene, who's got an interview on stage with TSM's rookie support.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, I am here with Biofrost from TSM. After that 3-0 victory over CLG, your teammates were talking about coming into this match, it's revenge, it's spring split, it's vindication, getting back at them for those finals. You weren't a part of that, so what did this matchup mean to you coming into it?
It just meant a lot. You know, my teammates have been practicing so hard for this moment. Like, ever since they lost to CLG, they've been practicing so hard, and they've been waiting for this moment to get revenge. And for me, it's just really nice to be able to play in the playoffs and play against CLG as, like, kind of a, you know, revenge back at the match. And it was really nice that we won.
Seems like you're getting swept up in the rivalry already. 1 split's all it takes, apparently. But also, it seems it apparently only takes you 1 split to make the finals. And you, as a rookie and as somebody who grew up in Canada, talk to me about how you're going to be in Toronto in the Air Canada Center. What does that mean to you?
It's just super cool because I remember, like, before I would watch hockey games in the Air Canada Center, and now it's like we're playing there. So it's super cool, and I'm really excited to play.
And you're going to be playing Cloud9 as well, who took down Immortals yesterday, and they actually shocked the league with that result. What are your thoughts and your impressions on this Cloud9 that seems to be a little bit souped up?
Yeah, definitely no one really expected C9 to take it because Immortals just looked so dominant. So we were pretty surprised, and I'm happy that C9 did get in because they've been working so hard, and they definitely deserve it. But yeah, C9 looked like a really strong team, and I'm definitely looking forward to play them in the finals.
Awesome. And final question for you here, Biofrost. Not only did you qualify for the finals today, you just qualified for Worlds in your rookie split. And I know that that feels great, but I want to ask you if there's anything that you'd like to say to TSM fans and also North America that you will be representing.
You know, like, this season has just been like a roller coaster. Like, first when I came on to TSM, you know, no one really expected me to do well. Like, I was just some random challenger support, but so many people were supporting me regardless, and seeing that support was just so helpful in reaching to this point. So I'm really glad that everyone stuck by me and stuck by the team, even though, you know, we lost to P1, and that was an unfortunate week. But yeah, I'm really glad that we'll be going to Worlds.
Once again, thank you very much for the interview. Congratulations on the 3-0 and finals as well. I'll see you there. Now, we're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break down that series.
Thank you very much, Zyrene.